Chapter 76. The world watches. What is a sword cultivator? Seeing Guan walk towards the valley entrance, Wuxia quickly ran over. Lu Jujia was also practicing with the servant disciples. Now he was Wuxia's right-hand man. He merely looked at Guan from a distance without approaching. Even though it had been several years since his return, Lu Jujia still did not dare face Guan whenever he could avoid seeing him. He would, because he felt he had let Guan down. Guan had given him so many elixirs, yet he had strayed onto the wrong path and ultimately became a cripple. Every time he thought about it now, he felt regret. He even felt that he deserved his fate. After all, he had indeed committed many wrongdoings in the demon extermination hall and deserved the punishment. Guan did not specifically try to guide Lu Jujia. This allowed the young man to reflect and contemplate. Senior brother, last night there was another incident of spiritual energy descending. Although it wasn't as severe as the previous times, you still need to be careful when you go out. Wuxia came up to Guan and reminded him. Guan nodded and said, I felt it too, which is why I came back. How's the situation in the Medicine Valley? It wasn't affected. By the way, senior brother, are you going to watch the duel between the Mad Swordsman of Great Yu and Sword Venerable Fudao? Has Sword Venerable Fudao agreed to participate? No, but the rumors are rampant, and Sword Venerable Fudao should show up. As they chatted, they walked towards the pavilion. Currently, the Mystic Valley had recruited another batch of servant disciples. These disciples frequently looked at Guan as they practiced. They were very curious about the true master of the valley. It was said that every few years, an outer disciple would emerge from this Medicine Valley. How could they not look forward to it? After chatting with Wuxia for a few moments, Guan went upstairs. He planned to make some new clothes for an Hao and an Exian. An hour later, he went to the third Medicine Valley to inspect his valley. The third Medicine Valley was vast, and he had to personally check it to avoid any oversights. Even losing one medicinal herb would cost him his lifespan. The disciples in the third Medicine Valley were also discussing the incident of spiritual energy descending last night. Various speculations were made, and Guan chatted with them briefly. It wasn't until dusk that Guan finally left. The sky was crimson, and the forest was dark, and Hao stood on a tree branch, gazing into the distance, hoping to spot Guan below the tree. An Exian asked nervously, Will Master not come back? He will definitely come back. Master said he would, and he always keeps his word. And Hao said firmly, his tone resolute. In truth, he was unsure himself but tried to appear confident. The thought of Master possibly not returning made him feel wronged and brought him to the verge of tears. But with an Exian below, he absolutely couldn't cry. His father had once told him that boys could cry, but never in front of girls. Suddenly, a hand fell on Nzin's head, startling her into a scream as she instinctively jumped back. And Hao heard it and quickly turned around, only to see the figure he had been waiting for all day. He immediately shouted excitedly, Master! He jumped down and rushed towards Guan, hugging his waist just like an Exian had done that morning. Seeing that it was Guan, an Exian also became very excited and rushed over to hug him. Even though they've only known each other for 2 days, Guan had already become irreplaceable in their hearts. Guan placed a hand on each of their heads, gently pushing them away. He softly said, Train diligently. If you don't train hard, I will leave you behind. If we excel in our training, will you stay? And Hao asked. Guan took out 2 sets of clothes from his storage bag and said, Didn't I tell you before? You will eventually go to the Supreme Sect. I won't be with you forever. Once you can protect yourselves, I will leave. Upon hearing this, and Hao's face fell immediately. An Exian bit her lip, her eyes turning red. Ignoring their emotions, Guan handed them the clothes and led them toward the river in the forest. An hour later, and Hao and an Exian had changed into their new clothes and tidied their hair. These two looked like a perfect pair of golden children in their new outfits, which was probably why that demon kept them for last, being reluctant to eat them. Guan decided to spend every night with them from then on, returning to the Supreme Sect during the day. The area within 1,000 miles had no presence of strong demons, only numerous villages and towns, so it was very safe for them to train here. And so, the days went by. A month passed in a flash. The outer gate city was crowded, and even the mountain areas outside the city gate were filled with cultivators in meditation. Many disciples from the other 7 outer gate cities, 4 inner gate cities, and the main city of the sect came to watch the battle, as well as disciples from other factions. The Supreme Sect did not prevent this from happening, causing the entire immortal cultivation world of the Taizong dynasty to discuss the event. In front of the South City Gate, Han Ming stood proudly. He had his eyes closed, his sword box placed in front of him, and his hands resting on the top of the box, while the warm end-of-summer wind blew through his robes. Many cultivators stood on the city walls, watching him and discussing. I wonder if Sword Venerable Fudao will show up. I think it's better if he doesn't. If he does, his true identity will be exposed, causing endless trouble in the future. He will surely come. He is so powerful that even if his true identity is revealed, who could defeat him? It's said that Sword Venerable Fudao is actually the sect leader. He remains hidden to build another powerful force comparable to the sect leader within the Supreme Sect. I heard the mad swordsman of Great Yu has been surpassing the divinity transformation realm for years. If this fight truly takes place, it will be legendary. Zuolin and his father, Zuoyijian, also stood on the city walls, looking down at Han Ming. Zuolin's face was full of worry. He had already taken Han Ming as his master, so he naturally worried about his master's safety. Jiang Qiong and Hu Mo, who had a cultivation level of 9 layers of the divinity transformation realm, stood on top of a huge gourd, also discussing the upcoming battle. Yilan stood on the top of a tall building, gazing into the distance towards the South City Gate. The sky was blue, not a cloud in sight, while the mountains outside the city were rugged. There was no sight of Sword Venerable Fudao. Standing beside her were more than a dozen disciples of the law enforcement hall, all her subordinates, including Jin Qin. They were all very excited. 5 miles away, Shen Zhan, wearing a black veil, stood on the top of a treasure pagoda, also watching the South City Gate, his eyes filled with anticipation. This duel between sword cultivators, which had been brewing for a month, had captured the attention of the entire Supreme Sect and even the immortal cultivation world. Amidst the anticipation of everyone, Han Ming remained patient, keeping his eyes closed. Meanwhile, 15,000 miles away, in a vast forest, Guan was instructing An Hao in sword practice. An Hao had reached the 2nd layer of the energy cultivation realm in just 3 days of energy absorption and was now at the 3rd layer. Today, Guan started teaching him the techniques of the Taizong Divine Shocking Sword so that he could have combat skills. Meanwhile, An Xian was still cultivating, concentrating on gathering her first wisp of spiritual power. The difference in their talent was like a chasm. Guan only needed to demonstrate the moves once for An Hao to remember them, making teaching him very easy. So this is what it's like to mentor a genius? No wonder the great cultivators favored geniuses. He was starting to favor An Hao too. While practicing the sword, An Hao asked curiously, "Master, what is the name of this sword technique?" He wielded a wooden sword, but even so, his sword strokes already produced a sharp wind. Taizong Divine Shocking Sword. You are the only one who has learned my sword technique. Do not disgrace it in the future. Guan said. Given An Hao's talent, he would certainly be revered if he joined the Supreme Sect. Adding that he was the inheritor of Sword Venerable Fudao's technique would make him even more extraordinary. In the future, the Supreme Sect would have to think twice about oppressing An Hao, considering whether it was worth going against Sword Venerable Fudao. Taizong Divine Shocking Sword. An Hao murmured, his eyes shining. He could feel the brilliance of the sword technique. Every time he practiced the moves, he had new insights, which made him deeply captivated. The sound of the sword cutting through the wind echoed continuously in the forest. Guan stood to the side, watching quietly. The wooden mask covered his face, preventing An Hao from seeing his expression. In the distance, An Xian looked on with envy in her eyes. She also wanted to practice the sword. An hour later, An Hao unexpectedly produced sword qi. As he swung the sword, The sword chi grazed past Guwen and struck the tree trunk behind him, leaving a fine sword mark. After producing sword chi, and Hao seemed to have opened his meridians, becoming faster and more fluid in his movements, swift as a startled swan. The spiritual energy in the forest began to converge towards him. Guwen watched with a tense mind. What kind of monster is this? He felt he had created a significant upheaval. If he hadn't saved and Hao would have been devoured by that demon, and the world would be without such a prodigious talent. He started to feel sorry for the likes of Liya, Ji Xiaoyu, Elvisian, Zhou Tongyu, and other peerless talents. Sorry, the position of the world's #1 now belongs to my disciple. Guwen himself wasn't interested in being the world's #1. Once attaining invincibility in the world, one might face enemies from heaven. He pursued the end of the immortal cultivation path, believing that there were more realms beyond this one. At noon, Guwen said, "Stop now," and Hao immediately withdrew his sword upon hearing this. He was drenched in sweat and panting heavily, but his face was glowing with vitality, and his eyes were bright as torches. "Master, how did I do?" and Hao asked with a proud smile. At 12 years old, he was beginning to show confidence. Guwen said, "You focus too much on the sword in your hand. Remember, the sword is not in your hand but in your heart. Whatever your mind envisions, anything can become a sword. Go pick a leaf." Upon hearing this, and Hao scratched his head, then walked over to a tree. Guwen motioned for an Exian to come over. Seeing this, an Exian smiled and quickly got up and ran over. "Sheener, you also pick a leaf," Guwen said softly. An Exian immediately complied. A few seconds later, the two stood before Guwen, curious about what he intended to do. Guwen took the leaf from an Hao's hand first and said, "A true sword cultivator can demonstrate the power of a divine sword even with an ordinary leaf." He held the leaf between two fingers of his right hand and lightly swiped it toward the distance. The leaf flew out, and an Hao and an Exian followed it with their eyes. Boom! A strong wind erupted, messing up their hair. They widened their eyes in disbelief. The leaf suddenly burst forth with terrifying sword chi, shattering the forest in front of them and cutting through the air with unparalleled force, disappearing in an instant. A 10-foot-wide clearing appeared in the forest ahead. Dust was flying, and the scene was breathtaking. That direction, incidentally, was towards the outer gate of the Supreme Sect. Chapter 77. 2 Leaves decide the outcome. Outside the Supreme Sect, in front of the South City Gate. Sword Venerable Fudao, if you do not show up within 30 minutes' time, then I will carve 2 more words on the heavenly repair platform. Han Ming's voice resounded, loud as rolling thunder, reverberating between heaven and earth for a long time. His words stirred the cultivators into a flurry of discussion. Although the disciples of the Supreme Sect frowned, they did not dare to curse him, as he had observed the formalities first. Having eagerly awaited for a month, the fact that Sword Venerable Fudao hadn't appeared left even the disciples of the Supreme Sect somewhat disappointed. Zuolin on the city wall breathed a sigh of relief. Though he felt Han Ming was no match for Sword Venerable Fudao, having spent a month together, he sincerely didn't wish for anything untoward to happen to Han Ming. Zuoyijian, on the other hand, looked into the distance, instinctively feeling that Sword Venerable Fudao would surely come. The commotion in the city grew louder. On the gourd magic artifact, Jiang Qiong whispered, "Could it be that Sword Venerable Fudao is really the sect leader?" "It's possible," Huemo mused. Although Han Ming is not much stronger than Chu Xian, Sword Venerable Fudao would need to reveal his true form to defeat him, so he wouldn't dare show up. If Sword Venerable Fudao truly is the sect leader, it's going to be interesting, and it will be seen as a self-directed play. His expression was mocking, his tone laced with disdain. The gourd under their feet glowed faintly, a restraining force isolating them from the surrounding space. Jiang Qiong was about to speak more, but suddenly, a powerful sword intent erupted from the South City Gate. Immediately following, an unimaginable force surged from the southern horizon. She jerked her head up, and Huemo beside her did the same. in front of the South City Gate. Han Ming lifted his sword box and stepped out 100 zhong. He planted the sword box into the ground, its base sinking into the soil. The sword box opened, and 2 treasure swords sprung out to the sides. His right hand pressed on the top of the sword box, his body bursting with vast sword intent, alarming all onlookers. Before most could track his movements, a streak of sword chi shot from the distant horizon, sweeping through forests and mountains, unstoppable. In the blink of an eye, this streak of sword chi collided with Han Ming's vast sword intent. Han Ming's sword chi formed a blue light curtain, nearly 200 zhong high, immensely grand. However, when struck by the mysterious sword chi, his blue sword chi tore apart, seemingly shattered in an instant. He widened his eyes, looking up, his pupils reflecting a leaf. Boom! The leaf swept over his head, sending his black hair fluttering, causing him to stagger back a couple of steps. Every cultivator on the city wall paled, Sui Jian instinctively raising his arm to protect his son, barely discerning what lay within the sword chi. Another loud rumble, and the city wall shuddered, but did not break. When the violent sword chi dispersed like a gale, a leaf was embedded in the wall, surrounded by spiderweb cracks. Han Ming steadied himself, advancing again, drawing 2 treasure swords from the sword box, looking up into the distance. The flying leaf passed, the gale roaring from the horizon as if to uproot everything in its path. Han Ming stood firm, his robes flapping backward, accentuating his robust physique. He fixed his gaze on the horizon, poised for battle. Cultivators from all directions, as well as those within the supreme sect, held their breath in anticipation. Sword Venerable Fudao had arrived. Wow, Master, you're amazing. What swordsmanship is that? I want to learn. And Hao, after a brief moment of daze, jumped up in excitement. Guwen picked up the leaf from Nzin's hand, startling her into looking up at him. This is the swordsmanship I taught you earlier. Once you've mastered it, you too can be like me. However, true mastery of the sword path is about returning to simplicity, achieving overwhelming power without grand displays. Guwen said softly, then tossed Nzin's leaf away, and Hao and Nzin's eyes followed the leaf as it floated 10 steps away, then suddenly accelerated like a streak of lightning. This time, the leaf didn't create the deafening display from earlier, appearing rather unremarkable, only its speed was fast. And Hao chuckled. I like it when it's dramatic. It looks more impressive. Guwen placed his hands on their shoulders, and they vanished into thin air. 15,000 miles away, in front of the South City Gate of the Supreme Sect's outer sect, Han Ming, holding 2 swords, stood in readiness. Silence reigns over the world. Everyone awaited the next move of Sword Venerable Fudao. Suddenly, Han Ming's pupils contracted sharply, immediately releasing his swords and casting a spell. The remaining sword in the sword box unsheathed, and 3 swords circled around him. With a gesture of his right hand forward, the 3 treasure swords rose and charged forth. The 3 swords interwove and swirled, releasing terrible sword chi that transformed into 3 dragons of sword chi racing forward, uprooting trees along the way, raising dust and shaking the earth and mountains. The cultivators in the sky were flung away by the spectacle. A glimmering light streaked from the horizon. It was a leaf shrouded in sword chi. It had come. Han Ming sharply focused on the leaf, which, though less oppressive than the previous one, felt even more dangerous to him. The leaf suddenly accelerated. Turning into a glimmering light, it pierced through Han Ming's sword chi, sending his 3 swords flying. Before they could settle, the leaf was already before Han Ming. So fast. Damn it! Han Ming was horrified, instinctively pushing out his palm. His robes erupted with a golden light, forming a golden bell shadow. Boom! The leaf shattered the golden bell shadow, piercing Han Ming's right shoulder. The powerful force left him unable to resist, dragging his body along, splitting the ground beneath him. Han Ming crashed into the city wall, shattering the wall behind him but not bringing it down. The reason it didn't collapse wasn't due to the wall's sturdiness but because Guwen had controlled it deliberately. Han Ming was pinned against the wall, spitting blood. His head hung low as if dead. Master, Zwilin, atop the shaking wall, called out anxiously. Countless cultivators gasped. The mad swordsman of great you had been defeated by sword venerable Fu Dao with just 2 leaves? How great was the gap! Flying leaf sword immortal. Sword venerable Fu Dao is the flying leaf sword immortal. A supreme sect disciple excitedly shouted. No need for him to spell it out, all spectators realized this. On the gourd magic artifact, Hu Mo opened his mouth but couldn't say anything. Yilan gazed at the remnants of sword chi in the sky, eyes full of envy. How advanced must one's cultivation be to wield such near-godlike power? Shunjin flew over the city wall, landed on the ground, and swiftly pulled out paper and pen to sketch Han Ming pinned against the wall. Under the blue sky, amidst the mountains, a small town sat by a large lake. If anyone asks, do not mention me. Just say you are children from this town. Gu An's voice transmitted. And Hao and an Xian landed, instinctively turning around, but Guin was already out of sight. At this moment, they stood in an alleyway, with moss-covered mud walls on both sides. As an Xian was about to speak, and Hao covered her mouth and said, Sister, let's go catch frogs. He gave an Xian a look, and when she nodded, he released his hand. Then, they walked out of the alley one after another, drawn by the bustling street, smiles naturally spreading across their faces. After all, they were still children. On the other side, removing his mask, Guin donned a blue Taoist robe and stepped into an inn. Having a rare chance to come out, he intended to enjoy the mortal world sights. He went up to the 2nd floor of the inn, sat at a windowside table, ordered the inn's signature wine and dishes, then gazed out at the street below. Street vendors peddled their goods on both sides, with travelers passing by. Guin even sensed the aura of other cultivators, though their numbers were not abundant. Patrons in the inn chatted about the grievances between Jianghu heroes, giving Guin a feeling of having traveled through time again. Before his food and drink arrived, Guin sensed a strong divine sense sweeping across the town. As expected, someone was coming. The divine sense swiftly vanished, not appearing again. Guin was in no hurry, ready to relax for the day. When his food and drink arrived, he began to drink alone, admiring the old-fashioned street bustling with people below the window. The sun set, the moon rose. As night fell, the town remained lively, red lanterns hanging on the buildings, with small rivers crisscrossing the town, glowing faintly. Guin stood atop a stone bridge, his brow furrowing slightly. He sensed a wisp of demon energy entering the town. Not very strong, just a 2nd-rank demon creature, equivalent to the Foundation establishment realm. Guin initially planned to return to the Supreme Sect the next morning to enjoy victory's accolades, so he wasn't in a rush, curious to see what the demon creature intended. Though no cultivators openly resided in this town, the 2nd-rank demon creature was still cautious, suggesting a particular reason. Guin slowly walked toward the direction of the demon energy. As he passed by a courtyard, a voice called out to him, "Junior brother Gu." The voice was old, tinged with surprise and hesitation. Guin turned his head, seeing an old man watching him from a courtyard. The old man had white hair and a stooped back, appearing in his 70s or 80s. Guin frowned, suddenly thinking of something, hesitantly asked, "Senior brother Zhang?" Zhang Chuanxiu. It had been so long, Guin had nearly forgotten Zhang Chunkius' aura, and Zhang Chunkius' appearance had changed significantly. The old man quickly walked out, excitedly saying, "It's really you! I felt like the person on the bridge looked like you from upstairs, but I didn't dare to believe it. Junior brother Gu, what brings you here? Are you on a mission as an outer disciple?" Guin nodded. "Something like that. Senior brother, what are you doing here?" "What a coincidence." Zhang Chuanxiu smiled. "This town is the wealthiest near the Supreme Sect. I'm here to spend my retirement." That made sense. Guin chose this place because of its safety and vibrant population. Zhang Chuanxiu took Guin by the wrist, smiling. "Come in and chat. You're not in a hurry, are you?" Not at all, Guan replied, sensing no one else in the courtyard. He was curious about Lotus' whereabouts. He had once eavesdropped on Zhang Chuanxiu muttering to himself, learning Zhang Chuanxiu had come down the mountain for a girl named Lotus. Chapter 78 Demon Guan. Renowned throughout the world, the end-of-summer moon was very round, but the clouds were too many, and the bright moon was quickly obscured. Guan and Zhang Chuanxiu sat inside the house, chatting leisurely. Zhang Chuanxiu spoke of his experiences over the years while Guan listened attentively. Zhang Chunqia's story was like one written by a scholar. He left the supreme sect for a woman he loved, only that woman was a demon. Years ago, Zhang Chuanxiu went to the supreme sect seeking immortality. On the way, he was attacked by demons, and was luckily saved by a female demon named Lotus. Eventually, he safely entered the supreme sect. He always remembered Lotus' kindness. Every year, he would go out to visit her. Their feelings for each other grew rapidly. Many years later, having no hope of reaching the Foundation Establishment realm, he chose to descend the mountain and spend the rest of his life with Lotus. After they met again, they came to this town, bought a mansion, got married, and had a son. After being with a demon for a long time, Zhang Chunqia's spiritual power was drained, along with his chi blood. Lotus couldn't bear to drag him down, so one morning, she left without saying goodbye. Hearing the story up to this point, Guan wanted to say something but held back. You might think I was deceived by her, but that's not the case. A human and a demon together end up this way. The reason I came down the mountain was also because there was no hope on the path of immortality. I do not regret it. Her lifespan is longer than mine. I don't have many years left. It's better she left earlier to avoid the pain of parting. Zhang Chuanxiu said with a smile, appearing kind. His cloudy eyes seemed to have seen through the vicissitudes of life in the mortal world. Looking at him, Guan couldn't help but think back to when he first entered the Mystic Valley. How young was Zhang Chuanxiu then? Truly, things had changed. He detected that Zhang Chuanxiu only had 3 years left to live, which made him feel a bit sad. An hour later, the demon energy that Guan had previously sensed entered the courtyard. It was Zhang Chunqia's son. Zhang Buku, Foundation Establishment Realm 2nd Layer 22/460/2300 at 22 years old, and in the Foundation Establishment Realm 2nd Layer, he was absolutely a genius. Could it be easier to give birth to geniuses from the union of humans and demons? Guan suspected it might be because Lotus' aptitude was exceedingly high. Buku, this is your martial uncle, Guan. Zhang Chuanxiu called out to Zhang Buku, who had climbed over the wall. Zhang Buku looked like a boy of 16 or 17, with rather dense hair on his cheeks. Greetings, martial Uncle Gu. Zhang Buku walked over, greeting shyly. Guan smiled and nodded, then took out a bottle of elixirs from his storage bag, saying, "This is a top-grade spirit energy elixir, just a little gift for our first meeting. How can we accept this? Senior brother, are you refusing out of disdain? How could I? I just think it's too precious." After pushing back and forth for a long time, Zhang Chuanxiu couldn't argue against Guan and had no choice but to let Zhang Buku accept it. Zhang Buku curiously observed Guan. It was the first time he had received a gift from someone other than his parents. Making him feel good about Guan, Zhang Chuanxiu began asking about the situation in Mystic Valley, and Guan did not hide anything. Upon hearing that Chang Xiandan and Meng Lang had died, Zhang Chuanxiu was not sad but rather a bit emotional and reminded Guan to be careful in the future. Then, Guan mentioned that Leah had already reached core formation. Zhang Chuanxiu exclaimed in wonder, saying he had always seen that Leah would soar to great heights. The two chatted for a long time, until Zhang Chuanxiu could no longer hold on. Guan finally said his goodbyes. Before leaving, supported by Zhang Buku, Zhang Chuanxiu turned around and said, "Junior brother Gu, you've already reached Foundation Establishment, which means your aptitude isn't terrible. Keep cultivating diligently. See how the world changes after hundreds of years for me." Guan stood at the door, looking back at him and nodding slightly. From beginning to end, Zhang Chuanxiu did not ask him for anything, just reminisced. As Guan walked out of the courtyard, he couldn't help but look back. He could hear Zhang Chuanxiu whispering to his son, asking where he had been causing trouble today, while Zhang Buku said he encountered a young boy and they fought. The boy he met was an Hao. Earlier when they fought, Guan felt it. Although there was a gap in cultivation level, Zhang Buku did not have the intention to kill. After several exchanges, he left. This could be considered fate. Zhang Buku had the potential for a lifespan of 2,300 years, likely becoming a famous great demon among the demon clan. As for an Hao, there was no need to mention that he had the potential to be the best in the world. Many years later, when they meet again, will they recall their childhood battle in this small town? Guan smiled, then disappeared into the night. At dawn, in the wilderness, at the edge of a cliff, an Hao and an Xian sat in meditation on either side of Guan, facing the rising sun and practicing together. The sunshine poured down on them, making a harmonious picture. 3 blood marks on an Hao's left cheek were left by Zhang Buku. He had been searching for Zhang Buku all night but couldn't find him. Even after leaving the town and arriving at this desolate place thousands of miles away, he was still indignant. Guan couldn't sit still anymore. He stood up and said, "I have to go out for a while. They'll be back by evening." "Howard, take care of your junior sister." With that, he disappeared from the cliff. And Hao and an Xian opened their eyes, looked back, and saw that their master was gone. "Do you think our master is really who he says he is? Why does he only accompany us at night?" An Xian asked curiously, touching his chin, and Hao thought, "Remember the storyteller who came to our village 2 years ago and mentioned the tales of the martial world? I think our master is one of the top demon lords in the world. However, his reputation as a demon lord should be misunderstood. Otherwise, why would he save us? It's because of this that he doesn't want us to be implicated by his reputation." And Zin's eyes widened, and she asked, "If Master really is a demon lord, then what is he going to do now?" "I don't know, but no matter what, he is our master. Anyway, he treats us very well, and we must remember his kindness." Guan, who was referred to as the Great Demon Lord by his disciples, returned to Mystic Valley and directly used the teleportation array to travel to the Third Medicine Valley. Sure enough, after the big battle ended, someone came looking for him. Guan walked into his loft and saw Xinjin drawing at the desk. "I say, holy daughter Xin, have you made my place your home? Coming and going as you please. Aren't you afraid of offending me?" Guan said helplessly. Without lifting her eyes, Xinjin said, "Come quickly and see." Guan immediately walked over, looked at her drawing, and frowned. "Is this Han Ming?" "Yes, how is it? Did I draw well? Aren't you afraid hell hold a grudge against you? Would he dare? My father isn't someone to be trifled with." Xinjin huffed, making Guan fall silent. Having backers is indeed impressive. Guan took a closer look. He had to admit that Xinjin's painting skills were extraordinary. The scene of Han Ming being nailed to the city wall was depicted very clearly, including the cracks on the wall. "How is it? What do you think?" Xinjin asked proudly. Guan grabbed her brush and added a few strokes to the paper. Xinjin squinted at it, then her eyes widened. Guan had added some wind and shadow effects, making the scene more dynamic. This was a drawing technique from Earth's comics. Such a technique did not necessarily mean it was better than Xinjin's, but the key was that Xinjin had never seen this style before. Although it was just a piece of paper, it made her feel the movements, as if painting the process of Han Ming smashing against the wall. She turned to Guan and couldn't help but say, "You know how to draw?" "A little. What about poetry and song?" "I know a bit of everything." There was admiration in Xinjin's eyes, which made Guan lift his chin slightly. "Showing off, are we? Well, after all, you did right investiture of the gods." Xinjin sighed. Guan then asked, "Why did you draw this picture? Could it be that Xinjin had a grudge against Han Ming?" "To tell the truth, I'm very interested in Sword Venerable Fudao. I always felt he would be a handsome and aloof swordsman. So many people came to watch the battle, yet he didn't show himself. He really has charisma. Shenzhen's eyes revealed a look of admiration. Guwen's lips twitched. What if he isn't a handsome young man, but an old man? That's not impossible. Besides writing books, he'll be investigating Sword Venerable Fudao. I must find him. Why? To become Taoist friends, of course. Panin, don't think I keep coming here because I like you. Even though I don't love cultivating, my Taoist friend must be the top great cultivator in the world. Just in case I offend someone while writing or drawing, he should be able to handle it. Shenzhen rolled her eyes at Guwen, then tidied up her drawing and walked towards the door. Guwen shook his head with a smile, not following her. After Shenzhen left the medicine valley, he went downstairs to check on the medicinal herbs. The servant disciples were still discussing Sword Venerable Fudao, each with a look of fanaticism on their faces. Listening to their praises, Guwen felt very happy. Despite his recent display of power, Guwen couldn't afford to be complacent. He still had to accumulate his lifespan steadily and diligently. The 9 layers of the unification realm were not enough to satisfy him. In the blink of an eye, a year passed, and another summer arrived. By now, Guwen did not visit an Hao and an Exian daily, but only twice a month. And Hao's cultivation had reached the 9th layer of the energy cultivation realm and could protect an Exian well. Last month, and Hao passed the test Guwen arranged, personally killing the wolf demon that had previously chased them. Guwen had let the wolf demon go to leave it for an Hao to kill. Alright, he admitted, upon first seeing an Hao's aptitude, he had already thought of a plan to nurture him extensively. The reason they hadn't gone to the Supreme Sect was that Anzin's cultivation level wasn't sufficient yet. Besides, the two were still young and could learn more from Guwen. One day at noon, Guwen went alone to the outer sect, first heading to the Heavenly Repair Platform. There were more and more sword cultivators on the Heavenly Repair Platform, and many were not from the Supreme Sect. The news of Sword Venerable Fudao severely injuring the mad swordsman of Great Yu with 2 leaves swept the immortal cultivation world. Now, Sword Venerable Fudao had become the most revered figure among the Supreme Sect disciples. Even though a year had passed, every time Guwen came to the outer gate city, he could hear the disciples talking about it. After the fame of that battle spread, more and more sword cultivators came to visit. The Supreme Sect did not refuse them but increased the defensive forces in this part of the outer gate city. This also resulted in Jiang Qiong's authority rising significantly since she was the great elder of the city. Guwen looked from afar and saw Han Ming standing by Zuolin, scolding him impatiently, while Zuolin sat on the ground with a sullen face. Guwen laughed. He wanted to see this scene, which was why he recommended Han Ming to take Zuolin as a disciple. Zuolin was a genius in every aspect, except for his exceedingly poor understanding of Sword Dao. Yet he loved Sword Dao the most. Guwen chuckled to himself, then shifted his gaze to the others on the platform, looking for any unfamiliar great cultivators. As he scanned, he really found one. Chapter 79. Ghost Mother of Ephemera. LV Xian returns. Ghost Mother of Ephemera. Second level of Unification Realm 3750/8090/54,000. Second level of Unification Realm. This exaggerated lifespan. First the Underworld Demon Emperor, now the Ghost Mother of Ephemera. Why do they all seem like characters from the Underworld? Guwen lamented silently. Even ghosts have lifespans, which means that even if they die, they can't exist forever. After thinking about it carefully, it made sense. If ghosts could exist forever, wouldn't this world be ruled by ghosts? Only tales of 1,000-year-old evil ghosts are heard, never of million-year-old ghost emperors. Of course, it could also be that Guwen's level wasn't high enough to encounter such beings, but at least this mortal world was still dominated by the human race. Perhaps there was a force in the dark that suppressed the existence of ghosts, maintaining balance in all things. The lifespan of the human race might be short, but they cultivated quickly. Each had its pros and cons. The Ghost Mother of Ephemera disguised herself as a female disciple of the Supreme Sect. Looking very young, her cultivation level suppressed to Foundation Establishment realm, making it difficult for others to detect her abnormality. Guwen didn't look any further, afraid of drawing her attention. The supreme sect had countless demons and monsters. As long as they didn't threaten him, he didn't bother. Little friend Gu. Han Ming suddenly walked over, with a smile on his face. Despite experiencing a crushing defeat, he didn't feel humiliated. Instead, he felt fortunate. Sword Venerable Fudao had pinned him to the city wall with a leaf, and the sword intent contained in that leaf benefited him greatly, indicating a lesson in disguise. With Fudao's ability, had he wanted to kill him, he definitely wouldn't have survived. Guwen looked at the approaching Han Ming and immediately saluted. Han Ming came forward, warmly grabbing his hand, and said, "Little friend Gu, since you're here, you must practice swordsmanship with me. The disciple you recommended to me is really too dull. It's driving my Taoist heart restless with anger." As he spoke, Han Ming pulled Guwen in the direction of Zuolin. Guwen, unable to break free from his hand while hiding his cultivation level, could only walk helplessly. Han Ming had Guwen sit next to Zuolin, then started teaching swordsmanship techniques. Zuolin, seeing Guwen, was very pleased and kept pulling him to talk endlessly, making Han Ming very irritable and scold Zuolin again. Zuijin sat on one side, smiling as he watched his son being scolded, while also scrutinizing Guwen. Besides being good-looking, his cultivation level seemed ordinary, and Zuijin couldn't understand what caught Han Ming's eye about this child. Zuijin closed his eyes, while feeling the sword intent within the words righteous path, and thinking back to the scene of Han Ming being defeated, he seemed to catch something in the dark, yet it felt like an illusion. This complex feeling made him bewildered. After a full ancient hour, Guwen finally managed to escape Han Ming's entreaties. Han Ming's swordsmanship. Guwen had memorized it after hearing it once, but to keep a low profile, he had listened to it 6 times, really exhausting himself. Guwen hastily left under Han Ming's disappointed gaze. From now on, he had to avoid Han Ming when visiting the heavenly repair platform. This guy was too troublesome, Guwen thought to himself, and then went to the Elixir Hall and the Book Collection Hall in sequence to report in, and finally visited Jiang Qiong at the Great Elder's residence. In the main hall, Jiang Qiong threw a storage bag to Guwen and said, "These are all high-rank medical herbs I have collected. Once they mature, you can take 20%. Hasn't your martial master treated you well?" Guwen scanned it with his divine sense and was elated. So many seeds, and the lowest grade was 4th rank. "Thank you, martial master," Guwen said sincerely. Jiang Qiong could have asked someone else to nurture them. She was the great elder now, holding significant power. Hearing this, Jiang Qiong smiled contentedly. She enjoyed seeing Guwen's gratitude towards her. Try not to sell the green vine fruit. It greatly enhances chi blood and root bones, making it a treasure beyond the measure of spirit stones, Jiang Qiong said earnestly. Clearly, she had found out about Guwen's record of selling green vine fruit. Guwen nodded. He no longer needed spirit stones to buy seeds, so naturally he wouldn't sell them. "Next, I plan to strive further upward. Your Medicine Valley can partly be credited to me. Cultivate it well. In the future, I will find a golden core from a core formation realm cultivator and use secret techniques to help you become a core formation realm cultivator," Jiang Qiong continued. Guwen quickly thanked her again. Then, Jiang Qiong waved her hand, indicating he could leave. Guwen turned to leave. After taking a few steps, Jiang Qiong's voice floated from behind. "Guwen, do you write books?" This statement made Guwen's heart tremble. What did that mean? Was he discovered by Jiang Qiong? Or was it a test? Guwen turned back and asked confusedly, "Write books about what?" Jiang Qiong looked at his face, which didn't appear guilty, and then shook her head. "Nothing, go back." Guwen scratched his head and left with a puzzled expression. Jiang Qiong sat in her chair and thought. After a while, she took a book out of her storage bag and started flipping through it. The cover had 4 words. Supreme Secret Records. Summer was blistering hot. The 13-year-old in Hao lay by the river, facing the sky, his head immersed in the water, bubbling as he blew bubbles. Not far away, an Exian was sitting under a tree, meditating and cultivating. Her brows were furrowed, obviously finding her cultivation difficult. A figure covered in Hao's body, making him open his eyes subconsciously. When he saw who it was, he quickly got up. Master! And Hao quickly got up, rubbed his wet hair, and then cultivated energy to dry his hair with spiritual power, causing wisps of white smoke to rise from his head. Guwen wore a mask and spoke in a hoarse, low voice. I won't teach you swordsmanship today. They'll teach you leg techniques. Hearing this, and Hao's eyes lit up, and he became excited. Finally, he didn't have to learn swordsmanship, and Hao was not only strong in spirit root qualification, but also had exceptional comprehension. After practicing the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword for a year, he had fully mastered its moves and mental methods. Now, he only needed to cultivate his own sword intent. Guwen lifted his leg, standing on one leg. This posture immediately stunned Hao, and even an Exian, who was absorbing energy, got drawn in. This leg technique is called Gale Shadowless Leg. Watch carefully. Guwen said with a deep voice. Currently, only Yilan inherited this move, while others practiced the residual wind leg. Although the residual wind leg was the basic leg technique of the Gale Shadowless Leg, it was hard to see their close connection when put together. He was not afraid that Yilan and Hao would recognize each other's leg techniques in the future. If they could recognize it, it meant they were fighting, just in time for Hao to show mercy. After spending more than a year together, Guwen had already treated Hao like his own child. Hao was not inherently bad and even had a chivalrous spirit deep down, only a bit carefree in personality. Guwen's leg shot out, and in an instant countless leg shadows burst forth. A gale arose, splashing water, and the trees in front of him toppled. The mountain wall 100 feet away cracked, with dense footprints appearing, very spectacular. Even the clouds in the sky were torn apart. Hao was dumbfounded and trembling all over, while an Exian was also watching with wide eyes. What a domineering leg technique! I want to learn. I want to learn. It feels more impressive than the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword. Hao shouted excitedly and even kicked a few times in place. Guwen said, the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword is stronger than the Gale Shadowless Leg. I just didn't show you its full power. Hee, I get it. I won't forget to practice the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword in the future. Hao quickly promised. Guwen started teaching him the moves. As always, Hao memorized the moves after seeing them once and then began practicing on his own. Again and again, he became more proficient. Guwen suddenly felt it was time to arrange for Hao to go to the Supreme Sect. This child's talent was terrifyingly high. If he could join the Supreme Sect earlier, he might establish a better foundation since Guwen could only teach him cultivation techniques and ultimate skills. However, Guwen thought of an Exian. Her qualification was too mediocre. Never mind, let them go. Qualification wasn't something he could change for now, so why worry for her? Guwen decided to wait another 6 months before sending the 2 children to the Supreme Sect. In 10 years, Hao might become renowned. He wondered how long it would take for him to catch up with Li Ye and Ji Xiaoyu. Guwen even began to look forward to the duel between Li Ye and Hao. Li Ye, being naturally competitive, would certainly clash with Hao one day. There were internal combats within the Supreme Sect. Although the two were over 30 years apart, they could be considered the same generation. The summer heat was intense, and Hao soon became drenched in sweat. Yet he continued practicing legs tirelessly. Despite his young age, once his clothes were soaked with sweat, his body showed strong muscle lines, full of strength. Guwen just stood there, quietly watching. Tianya Valley. Guwen was planting seeds, with Sun San following close behind, carrying a basket. To prevent being seen through, Guwen didn't just harvest. Occasionally, he did other tasks. I'm back. A voice came from the valley entrance. Guwen didn't have to look to know it was LV Xian. LV Xian walked in from the valley entrance, wearing a blue robe and holding a folding fan, looking more masculine compared to his previous red attire. How did it go? Smoothly? Sitting on the mountaintop, Yi Luyun asked, his voice echoing through Tianya Valley. Luo Hun appeared in front of the pavilion with a long spear, welcoming LV Xian's return. Guwen also had to show his respect. Compared to LV Xian, Gu En was more concerned about Li Ya's situation in the 100 Races Assembly. LV Xian wore a faint smile and said, "Naturally smooth. Although there were some twists in the middle, I took the first place without any surprises." Hearing this, both Luo Han and Yi Luyun smiled. They all served Li Xiandao and would experience life and death together in the future. The stronger LV Xian was, the happier they would be. Yi Luyun asked again across the Medicine Valley, "Did the talents from the Ji family, Gu family, and Zhou family pose any threat to you?" LV Xian replied, "A woman named Ji Xiaoyu from the Ji family gave me some trouble. Unfortunately, she withdrew halfway, and without defeating her head-on, I felt some regret. Other than that, there were less than 5 opponents who could contend with me." "Was there anyone among His Majesty's children who satisfied you?" Luo Han asked with some expectation in his tone. LV Xian shook his head and said disdainfully, "Although I greatly admire His Majesty, his children are really not up to par, not even close to him. By the way, there was a prince named Li Ye who showed surprising ferocity. To win, I had to break his limbs. He'll probably need a year or 2 to recover." This statement caused Luo Han's face to change dramatically. Gu En couldn't help but frown as well. Chapter 80. Mystic Tortoise Surging Wave Palm. Shockingly revealed Heavenly Spirit Root. Gu En felt annoyed when he heard about Li Ya's injury. This guy was too harsh with his moves, and now he was belittling Li Ya. Previously, Gu En thought that even if LV Xian defeated Li Ya, he would show some mercy for Li Zuando's sake. But he hadn't expected such arrogance, with a tone that showed no regard for Li Xiandao. Yi Luyun appeared out of nowhere in front of LV Xian and frowned as he asked, "Why did you injure His Highness? Couldn't you just knock him out?" Clearly, Li Xiandao frequently mentioned Li Ye in front of him. "What's the matter? He can't be injured? He's not the Crown Prince, and compared to the Crown Prince, he's far inferior." LV Xian frowned and retorted, his tone filled with dissatisfaction. "Even if he's not the Crown Prince, he's still a prince that His Majesty cares about." Yi Luyun's tone was somewhat heavy. Luo Han remained silent, but from his expression, it was clear he was also displeased. LV Xian snorted, "Is it forbidden? Then you beat me up and break my hands and feet." At this moment, he saw Gu En approaching, immediately became excited, and walked up to him. "Valley Master, I've already won the championship of the 100 Clans tournament. How about training with me?" LV Xian said, taking a golden token from his storage bag with the words Hidden Dragon List Champion inscribed on it. Gu En nodded. "Then let's learn." Upon hearing this, LV Xian immediately pulled him aside. Yi Luyun looked at Luo Han and asked, "Do we need to inform His Majesty about this?" Luo Han thought for a moment and said, "No need. His Majesty surely has people watching over His Highness Li Ye." Yi Luyun sighed, shook his head, and then disappeared from the spot. Gu En followed LV Xian to an open space, with 3 monkey demons following and watching curiously from the side. "What kind of spell do you like?" LV Xian asked, rubbing his hands, eager to teach. "Anything but swordsmanship," Gu En replied. This had been agreed upon earlier. He didn't want to break his word. However, the matter of LV Xian injuring Li Ye couldn't be overlooked. "Then I'll teach you the hand technique, all right? I have a powerful hand technique, the very one I used to break Li Ya's hands and feet," LV Xian said with a proud smile, glancing at the distant Yi Luyun, clearly meant for him to hear. Gu En nodded. "Then teach it. Let's see how powerful it is." LV Xian immediately began teaching the hand technique, demonstrating the moves while explaining the mental method. Mystic Tortoise Surging Wave Palm. The name alone sounded domineering. Gu En watched intently. He was ready to thoroughly torment LV Xian. The sun shone brightly and gradually set in the west. By the time evening fell, LV Xian, looking frustrated, asked, "Are you really that forgetful? Or are you deliberately messing with me?" His loud voice startled Luo Han and Yi Luyun, who hurriedly flew over, fearing he might get violent. Gu En sighed. "I already said my aptitude and comprehension are very poor, But you didn't believe me and insisted on teaching me. Now you're getting impatient. No, no one could be this dumb, right? Elvicien couldn't understand, yet Guan didn't seem to be faking it. Iluyun said, the Valley Master's cultivation was all piled up with elixirs. Understandable. I've told you before, don't always try to persuade others. Everyone's situation is different. Luo Hun reminded, what His Majesty values is his cultivation ability. He emphasized the phrase values. Elvicien took a deep breath and said, I don't believe it. I must teach him. Guan hastily said, next time, I need to go back. You can't leave. Hearing this, Guan turned to leave, and Iluyun and Luo Hun quickly stopped Elvicien. Damn it, Valley Master, you must come back. Once you master the mystic tortoise surging wave palm, you'll have the power to protect yourself, and you might even compete for heavenly destiny, reaching higher levels. Elvicien watched Guan's retreating figure and shouted loudly. Guan didn't understand him. Cruel to opponents, yet he enjoyed teaching people to cultivate? Was he having split dreams? Guan thought as he flew away on his sword, quickly disappearing into the twilight. In the days that followed, every time Guan visited, Elvicien would try to teach him spells. No matter how he taught, Guan couldn't learn, but Elvicien never gave up. If he couldn't teach one spell, he'd move on to another. Time flew by. The end of the year arrived. Heavy snow covered miles of mountains and forests. Guan, dressed in white and wearing a mask, walked out of the forest, with an Hao and an Xian following behind him. The usually lively and Hao was now silent as well. Guan stopped and looked at the snowy mountains ahead, then said, a few hundred miles ahead, you'll reach the outer sect of the Supreme Sect. Once there, unleash your spiritual power, and they will bring you into the city to test your spirit roots. And Xin's eyes were red as she couldn't help but ask, Master, when will we see you again? I saved you because I happened to pass by. This is a fate that shouldn't have been. We will not meet again, and you must not mention me to anyone. Guan said, turning his back to them. He had taught an Hao and an Xian to cultivate without any ulterior motive. It was just a whim. He didn't need them to repay him and hoped their relationship would end here. And Hao suddenly knelt down, and an Xian followed, kowtowing to Guan. This time, Guan didn't stop them and accepted their 3 kowtows. And Hao's forehead was directly broken, blood and flesh mingling. But he felt no pain, staring firmly at his master's back. He could never forget the terrifying experience in the demon cave and the despair when facing the wolf demon. Master, no matter who you are, I will always remember your kindness. I will strive to cultivate, make a name for myself, and become the greatest person under the heavens. When you hear my name and need anything, disciple would die 1,000 deaths without hesitation. And Hao said solemnly, though he had just turned 14, there was a determination in his eyes fiercer than that of an adult man. Guan waved his sleeve, and the wind and snow swept in from the horizon, causing an Hao and an Xian to instinctively raise their arms to shield their faces. If you want to help me, live for 1,000 years first. Guan's voice drifted away in the wind. When the snow passed, the 2 raised their eyes, and he was already gone. An Xian couldn't help but look at an Hao, waiting for his decision. He stood up, looked toward the horizon, and said softly, An Xian, we must not disappoint Master. An Xian nodded firmly. The siblings stepped forward into the flying snow that seemed ready to swallow them. Guan returned to Mystic Valley. He first inspected the medicinal herbs in Mystic Valley and then returned to his loft, keeping his divine sense focused on an Hao and an Xian the entire time. Although they were less than 300 miles from the Supreme Sect, he still worried, as the Supreme Sect was now a mix of fish and dragons. For the next few days, no matter where he went or what he did, he kept part of his divine sense watching over an Hao and an Xian until they safely reached the outer sect of the Supreme Sect. When the young and Hao revealed his Qi cultivation realm 9 layers cultivation level, it immediately shocked the elder of the Outer Gate City, who personally attended to them. The reason he chose the nearby Outer Gate City was mainly because there were many great cultivators in the city, and in how wouldn't be easily plotted against or possessed. As the new year arrived during the spring festival, Mystic Valley, Guwen, Yilan, Jinqin, Wuxin, Xiaochuan, Tangyu, and others sat around a long table celebrating. Other servant disciples sat at another table, clinking glasses together. Have you heard? Recently, the outer sect recruited a disciple with heavenly spirit root. Even the elders of the sect's main city were alerted. His name isn't Hao, and he's only 14 years old, almost at foundation establishment. It's unbelievable. Compared to him, I feel like my cultivation has turned me into a pig. Jinqin marveled while holding a wine bowl. Heavenly spirit root. Everyone was intrigued, and Wuxin couldn't help but ask, is that true? The Taizong dynasty hasn't had a heavenly spirit root for hundreds of years. It's true. Our law enforcement hall even guarded him for a few days until the sect leader took him away. Yilan nodded, much calmer than Jinqin. Everyone continued discussing the heavenly spirit root, with Wuxin sharing many legends, making Yilan frown. How does this kid know so much? Is there something suspicious about him? Yilan thought silently as she looked at Wuxin. Although she had known him for years, people could change. No, she had to check Wuxian's entry records. Listening to everyone talk about and how, Guwen couldn't help but smile. From now on, there would be another interesting aspect to his farming life, watching how high and how could grow. After a long discussion, the topic shifted to the immortal cultivation world. It was said that a demon disaster was occurring in Chongluo, Songzhou, with a demon attempting to assassinate the emperor. The emperor narrowly survived, resulting in anger and a pursuit of those responsible, with entire families being executed. Guwen knew that Li Xiandao hid the 9 layers of divinity transformation realm, so he wasn't worried, listening with great interest. The New Year's celebration, bidding farewell to the old and welcoming the new, lasted until dawn. When the sun first rose, Yilan and Jinqin left. Guwen did not immediately leave Mystic Valley, but quietly entered the 8 scenic caves to bring delicacies to Sky Dragon. Under the green vine tree, seeing Guwen arrive, Sky Dragon was very happy, swimming quickly around him. Now it was nearly 2 zhang long, with dragon horns fully grown, looking like a real dragon, its black dragon scales gleaming with cold light. Master, when can you take me outside? Sky Dragon rubbed Guwen's face, asking pitifully. Guwen stroked its head, smiling. Didn't I tell you? When you grow up completely. Outside, many people are eyeing your flesh, just like you look at mutton. How big counts as grown up? I feel I'm very strong now, even stronger than you, Master. Sky Dragon said aggrievedly. Although Guwen had practiced swordsmanship under the tree, he had never shown his true strength. So even Sky Dragon didn't know his real abilities. Hearing its words, Guwen thought he couldn't continue like this. I'll think of a way. Guwen pondered. He decided to find Jiang Qiong to see if she understood transformation skills, to turn Sky Dragon into a snake so that it could follow him outside. Upon hearing this, Sky Dragon immediately became happy, even cheering, making Guwen laugh. After staying in the 8 scenic caves for an ancient hour, Guwen left, leaving quickly because he sensed a familiar presence approaching Mystic Valley. Guwen returned to his loft, pretending to read a book. After a while, a figure leapt in through the window, and before landing, the voice rang out, Junior Brother Gu, guess what treasure I brought back for you? Chapter 81 Ancient Gold. Swallowing Insect. Demon Path besieges Supreme Sect Gu, and looked at Leah, who climbed in through the window and said helplessly, what treasure could be better than my windowsill? Leah, dressed in green, walked to the table, took a bag from his waist, placed it on the table, and said with a smug smile, this treasure, you will definitely like. Guwen probed with his divine sense, frowned, and asked, why are they just bugs? These are ancient gold-swallowing insects. Their jaws can bite through any gold, iron, or ore in the world. If fed with golden attribute spirit energy, they can grow even stronger. There are 16 in total here, one of them is a queen. They are quite good for guarding the house and can also help you dig the ground, Leah said with a smile. Upon hearing this, Guwen became interested and asked curiously, "How do you make them recognize their master?" "There is a special recognition ritual. You have to drip your blood essence onto the queen insect to establish a soul connection," Leah said, following by handing Guwen a thin secret book from his storage bag. Guwen took it but did not open it immediately. Instead, he asked, "How did the 100-clan assembly go?" Leah pulled over a chair from the side, sat opposite Guwen, and sighed. "It wasn't smooth, but it was enlightening. The world is truly full of experts and talents. My talent was nothing at the assembly of the 9 dynasties and 100 clans. I barely made it into the top 100, and Zhou Tongyu only made it into the top 10. Seeing how optimistic he seemed, Guwen felt slightly less worried. Leah began to recount what he had seen and heard at the 100-clan assembly, and Guwen listened attentively. Halfway through, Guwen even got up to pour some wine, listening while drinking. Leah kept talking until dusk and still had more to say. Guwen lamented. "So it seems only our family's 3rd miss can pose a threat to Elvisian? Her Qilin step is indeed formidable. She was the only one able to wound Elvisian. Unfortunately, she encountered a heavenly tribulation after taking 9 steps, temporarily halting the combat. She hasn't been seen since." Leah nodded. "Heavenly tribulation? What does that mean? Is the Qilin step that powerful?" Guwen was surprised. He had taken countless steps over the past 2 years and hadn't encountered any heavenly tribulations. Leah shook his head. "How would I know? Maybe she has some hidden secret within her body." Innate Taoist talisman. Guwen sighed in his heart. Is she cheating? Compared to Ji Xiaoyu, Elvisian's strength was what shocked me the most. He is my next target and I will challenge him and win next time, Leah said with fighting spirit. Guwen asked, "Didn't you just say he broke all your limbs? Don't you hate him?" Leah shook his head. "It was a normal sparring match. Nothing to hate. Besides, I refused to admit defeat at the time. I heard from a senior that he's also a pitiful person. He has other remnant souls within him that want to seize his body. That's why he sometimes acts friendly, sometimes violent." "Other remnant souls?" Guwen breathed a sigh of relief. If that's the case, then he was reassured. He had been worried that Elvisian was an immortal reincarnated. Now it seemed that wasn't the case. "What do you mean by other remnant souls?" Guwen asked in confusion. "Not sure. It might be related to some treasure or maybe he was possessed. Anyway, he will be tormented until he clears those souls. No wonder he was never mentioned in the Supreme Sect before. Perhaps the LV family kept him protected. By the way, his father was the previous sect leader LV Badian. LV Badian went into deviation while cultivating, and his son is tormented by residual souls. Is it just a coincidence?" Leah frowned as he spoke, then sighed and said, "If Elvisian were not affected by the residual souls, he might have already formed his nascent soul. His power would be unimaginable." Guwen laughed, amused that he was starting to sympathize with Elvisian. "By the way, who was that senior you mentioned? He sounds amazing," Guwen asked, feigning curiosity. "An unnamed senior. Sorry, I can't reveal more," Leah replied. "Heh, must be the old master inside you." Guwen could sense the growing presence of a soul within Leah. He suddenly thought of something. Before reaching the unification realm, he could sense the soul within Leah. Those great cultivators in the void-crossing realm should be able to detect it too. Judging by Leah's words, it seemed no one had discovered this. Was it because Gu An's cultivation technique was too strong, or was there another reason? Even though it was getting late, Leah showed no sign of leaving. He kept chatting with Gu and describing the landscapes he saw during his travels. They talked until the next morning when Leah finally left. After he left, Guwen picked up the secret book left by Leah and began studying how to make the ancient gold-swallowing insects recognize him as their master. Under a clear sky in the 3rd Medicine Valley, Guwen stood in front of Elder Tion, raising his right hand. On the back of his hand was a golden insect resembling a beetle but with larger mandibles. Ancient gold-swallowing insect, This creature is very rare, hard to find even within the Taizong dynasty, Elder Tian praised. This was a gift from my senior brother, Li Ye. He placed in the top 100 at the 100 Clan Assembly and brought this insect back for me. It can help patrol the Medicine Valley in the future, Guan said with a smile. He had mentioned Li Ye to Elder Tian several times. If Elder Tian ever regained his position as sect leader, hopefully, he would remember Li Ye and cultivate him with care. Elder Tian nodded. It seems this Li Ye is indeed talented and devoted. A single ancient gold-swallowing insect is invaluable, let alone 16. Guan opened the insect bag at his waist, and the ancient gold-swallowing insects flew out. One of them, twice the size of the others, landed on his shoulder while the rest hovered around him. Passing by, Xiaochuan couldn't help but come over and Guan began showing off the insects. By the evening, all the servant disciples in the Third Medicine Valley had witnessed the ancient gold-swallowing insects. Guan wasn't just showing off. He wanted to prevent the servants from attacking the patrolling insects in the future. Seasons passed, and 3 years went by quickly. Guan crossed the 50-year mark. These 3 years had been peaceful and fulfilling. His lifespan had exceeded 300,000 years and continued to increase annually. One day, Xiaochuan arrived at the transmission array platform with Yilan. Guan was playing with a white spirit rat as big as a dog. When he saw Yilan coming, he immediately got up to greet her. Yilan's face looked troubled. Facing Guan, she said, "Senior brother, let's talk inside." Guan nodded and led Yilan upstairs. Xiaochuan went towards the white spirit rat, but it turned and ran away. Angry, Xiaochuan picked up a stone to throw at it but missed. Meanwhile, Guan closed the door after entering the room. He had just turned around when Yilan spoke. "Senior brother, Wuxia is a spy from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion." Upon hearing this, Guan's expression changed slightly. He frowned and asked, "Nonsense, what evidence do you have?" Yilan took out several sheets of paper and said, "These are all records left by the Demon Extermination Hall of the Disciples. The person who brought Wuxia into the sect was not a demonic spy, but his subsequent connections were all demonic spies. Besides, the Thousand Autumn Pavilion has been searching for the son of a pavilion master, who happens to be a monk with indelible scars on his head." Guan took the papers and examined them closely. The papers outlined the interactions of the spies, including visits Wuxia had made to the outer gate city to see them. Careless. Why didn't he act more prudently? Guan silently cursed but didn't panic, as Yilan was the one who discovered this. After reading, Guan looked up at Yilan and asked, "How many people know about this?" "Just me for now. The Law Enforcement Hall usually doesn't investigate servant disciples. We discovered that there's a valley master in the outer sect's Medicine Valley working for the Thousand Autumn Pavilion, but we haven't identified who it is yet. We wanted to investigate further, but someone above us ordered us to stop," Yilan said angrily. "Who ordered you to stop?" "Outer sect Great Elder Jiang Qiong, but her people said it was an order from the inner sect." Guan suddenly thought that Jiang Qiong being the outer sect Great Elder might actually be beneficial, as she could shield him. Although Guan had never worked for the Thousand Autumn Pavilion, the green vine tree made it impossible to wash his hands clean, and he didn't want his peaceful farming life disturbed. Guan stepped forward, grabbing Yilan's shoulders and took a deep breath, saying, "Junior sister, this matter must be suppressed. Even if Wuxia is from the demonic path after so many years together, I believe he is not a bad person." Blushing, Yilan lowered her eyes and said, "Senior brother, are you also from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion? If you are, I'm willing to go with you." "How could that be? I was born as a person of the Supreme Sect, and I will die as a ghost of the Supreme Sect. I don't care. Wherever you go, take me with you." "Can you suppress this matter then?" "Yes, the other evidence has been destroyed. Only what's in your hand remains." Guan released her and threw the papers into his storage bag. "Better keep it just in case." Yilan then said, "This is actually a minor issue. I know you will protect him. I came to tell you something bigger. The demonic path is preparing to attack the Supreme Sect, and this time it's real. Someone in the Hall of Elders in the main city has betrayed the Supreme Sect. This information came from a law enforcement hall spy within the Wanin sect and has been reported upwards. The 4 inner sect cities are preparing for war. There are many cultivators from other sects and dynasties in the outer sect. They have been there for years and can't be expelled easily. If the demonic path attacks, the outer gate city might be very dangerous, with demonic spies possibly aiding the enemy. Demonic path attack? Guin frowned and asked. The Supreme Sect's disciple count has skyrocketed over the years. How dare they attack? They've allied with the Demon Clan, planning to destroy the Supreme Sect and then divide up the Taitsong dynasty. Yilan replied with a serious expression. Allied with the Demon Clan? Guin was puzzled. Didn't these demonic sects know about the upcoming 100-year demonic calamity? After sharing more information, Yilan left in a hurry. Guin personally escorted her to the transmission array platform to send her to the Mystic Valley and then the outer gate city to follow protocol. Returning to his room, Guin suddenly noticed Elder Tion sitting under an old tree. It had been a while since he last checked on Elder Tion. The old guy had his cultivation level increased by 2 layers at the heavenly repair platform, but had been quiet ever since, which was strange. As he thought about this, Guin cast a lifespan detection spell. Chapter 82: The Battle Between Good and Evil. Protecting Medicine Valley LV Batian. Core Formation Realm 3rd Layer 754/1050/3200 Core Formation Realm 3rd Layer? Seeing Elder Tion's cultivation level rising so high, Guin was secretly alarmed. He had better keep an eye on Elder Tion frequently. What if one day he surpassed him and he didn't even know? Guin realized that the higher the realm, the more cultivators practiced the energy-concealing sorcery. It was very difficult to judge an opponent's cultivation level based solely on sensory perception. In other words, the immortal cultivation world was all about who could conceal themselves better. Fortunately, he concealed himself deeply enough. He was confident he could continue to do so. Elder Tion seemed to sense Guin's gaze. He opened his eyes and looked at him. Guin gave a slight nod, then returned to his room. The demon path was about to attack, but he did not panic at all. He went about his usual business. The Supreme Sect was not a soft target, especially with Elder Tion, this hidden sect leader, secretly gaining power. What Guin needed to do was protect his Medicine Valley. At the end of summer, the weather was cool. Guin walked within the outer gate city and found that the number of disciples from the law enforcement hall in the city had increased significantly. There were also many divinity transformation realm auras on the city walls in all directions. The whole city exuded a tense and murderous atmosphere. The demon path was really coming. As usual, he first went to the heavenly repair platform to take a look. The underworld demon emperor and the ghost mother of ephemera were still there. The two seemed like ascetics, sitting alone in meditation, with no other hidden demons around. Guin always felt that the underworld demon emperor might be related to the demon path, but he was reluctant to report it for fear of being dragged into the whirlpool. His goal was longevity. Would the Supreme Sect still exist after 10,000 years? He was never someone with great noble aspirations. He was just an ordinary person. After scanning the surroundings, Guin did not see any powerful, unfamiliar faces. It seemed that the Supreme Sect had recently been strict in controlling outsiders, only permitting them to leave while barring them from entering. Afterward, Guin visited Zhang Qiong. Zhang Qiong was not in her residence. Her servant asked him to wait in the hall. Standing in the main hall, Guin observed the surroundings. He could feel the presence of very intricate restrictions here, which could not be seen with the naked eye. The Ziwei Array Chronicles Zhang Qiong gave him he had often read, and he had built a considerable understanding of formations. So now he could see some of it. While observing, Guin suddenly felt something, and his expression turned strange. There was a large space beneath this residence, just like the 8 scenic caves below the Mystic Valley. An ancient hour later, Zhang Qiong finally returned. When she entered the hall, she waved her right hand, and the door closed with a bang. Guin stood up and looked at her. She walked to the main seat and sat down, saying, "No need for formalities. Sit down." Her face looked somber, clearly having encountered unpleasant matters. Guwen took a storage bag from his waist and placed it on the table beside her, saying, "This is the first batch of mature medicinal herbs. Please check them." The grade and rank of Jiang Qiong's medicinal herbs were all quite high, so the first batch of medicinal herbs had just matured now. Jiang Qiong did not take the storage bag but instead asked, "You must have other matters. Otherwise, you could have let Hu Mo do the checking." Guwen nodded and said, "I have received news that the Demon Path plans to besiege the Supreme Sect. Is it true?" This was something best to ask the Demon Path about. Jiang Qiong nodded and said, "That's correct. Within half a year at most, the righteous and demonic war of the Taizong dynasty will break out. The reason is that the Supreme Sect has been continuously growing, making the Demon Path uneasy. Additionally, with the help of the Demon Clan, the two sides joining forces indeed have a chance to defeat the Supreme Sect." Guwen hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I heard that 100 years later, demons outside the 9 dynasties will invade the 9 dynasties. Shouldn't we be striving for peace and working hard on cultivation at this time? And how can the Demon Clan be trusted?" Hearing this, Jiang Qiong glanced at him and snorted softly. "Do you think the Demon Clan is of one mind? The demons outside the 9 dynasties are not purely Demon Clan. If they break in, the Demon Clan will also face slaughter. As for the human race, when have they ever truly united? The more dangerous the situation, the more they fight. The resources in the immortal cultivation world of the 9 dynasties are limited. The stronger the Supreme Sect becomes, the more it squeezes the cultivation resources of other sections. Historically, the so-called righteous and demonic struggles have actually been battles for resources. They just need a justified cause. This time, the Demon Path is launching a war under the banner of the Supreme Sect's evil deeds. Soon you will hear about it. When the Supreme Sect's morale wavers, the Demon Path will launch an attack. If they succeed, the righteous and demonic stances will reverse. If they fail, the Supreme Sect will have no strength left to eradicate the Demon Path." After hearing this, Guwen remained silent. He was the one who could feel this the most. Each time he broke through, he absorbed a large amount of spiritual energy, thereby affecting the Supreme Sect. If all the spiritual energy and spirit stones of the entire dynasty were concentrated in one sect, the chances of breakthroughs for the authority holders in that sect would be much greater. So even if the calamity of the demons was only 100 years away, they still contended for it. Or rather, what the great cultivators cared about was not the common people but their own cultivation levels. As long as they were strong enough, they could even venture south to the sea to seek immortal destiny. Guwen thought for a moment and asked, "Martial Master, which side are you on?" Jiang Qiong smiled and said, "I stand on the side of the victors. Don't worry. I can ensure that our outer gate city remains safe. Moreover, there are too many great cultivators in this city. The Demon Path will not attack from this direction." Upon hearing this, Guwen secretly breathed a sigh of relief and laughed. "As long as it doesn't endanger my Medicine Valley, that's enough. Scared now? I told you to cultivate more often, but you didn't listen. Cultivation is not something that can be rushed. Humph, you are just lucky to have a martial master like me. Before you go, find Hu Mo. I have already prepared a batch of immortal cultivation elixirs for you in advance to help boost your cultivation level. You are already 50 years old, still not in core formation realm. What a waste. Don't ever say that you are my disciple's grandson." "Thank you, Martial Master," Guwen said with a smile, but inside, he was grumbling. A 50-year-old at Unification Realm 9th layer, have you ever heard of it? It would scare you to death if you knew. Next, Guwen inquired about the cultivation level of the strongest member of the Demon Path, but Jiang Qiong didn't know. She candidly said that if LV Batian were still present, the Demon Path would certainly not dare to invade. But now that the sect leader was Chu Tianqi, the battle between the strongest of the righteous and the demonic factions would be difficult to determine. These words made Guwen feel sympathy for the Demon Path. LV Batian was not dead yet, By the way, Martial Master, have you ever heard of the underworld demon emperor? Guwen suddenly asked. Jiang Qiong thought for a moment and shook her head. I've never heard of him. Why? It's nothing. I just read about him in a book. He's supposed to be very powerful. Since you don't know, then never mind. I should take my leave. Guwen answered, then stood up, saluted and turned to leave. Jiang Qiong watched his back, lost in thought. After talking with Jiang Qiong, Guwen's worries about the righteous and demonic war eased significantly. His days returned to being as peaceful as before. 3 months later, at the end of autumn, the third Medicine Valley was still covered with many withered yellow leaves. In the early morning, Guwen was leading his disciples in exercises, with Elder Tian also participating. Only Guwen noticed that his body was sturdier than before. This guy's cultivation level had already reached core formation realm 9th layer. Guwen had no idea how he managed to cultivate. Whenever Guwen was around, he never caused a spiritual energy disturbance. After the exercises, Guwen dismissed the disciples and headed towards the pavilion. 16 ancient gold-swallowing insects circled him, making him appear surrounded by golden stars. Just as he reached the bottom of the building, he stopped. He saw 2 figures swiftly approaching from the horizon. It was Vice Sect Leader Ji Tian and Elder Gu Zong. Checking the medicinal herbs in the garden, Elder Tian glanced back and then turned away. After Gu Zong and Ji Tian landed, they called Guwen upstairs to talk. Upon entering the room, Gu Zong, as usual, laid down a restriction. Bang! Ji Tian suddenly slammed the table, causing Guwen's heart to race. Damn it! Every time they came, they had to slam the table? Guwen really wanted to use the great yin-yang transformation, transform into a demon cultivator, and beat Ji Tian violently. The furniture in this room was made of the finest wood. If it got damaged, he would feel a pang of heartache. Chu Tianqi has gone too far. I didn't expect the entire Chu family to be rotten to the core. Pan, and you must write a book about this and show it to the world. The Supreme Sect is the orthodox sect of the world and must be supervised by the world. Ji Tian said furiously. Again, Guwen remained silent. He shouldn't have shown mercy back then. Gu Zong sat down and said impatiently, What's the rush? It seems you are completely unaware of his actions. I think you just want to be the sect leader. This time, don't use Pan En as a tool. Pan En is the banner of the Supreme Sect's disciples. This banner cannot become a weapon in the sect's power struggle. Guwen looked at Gu Zong. At least he made sense. Ji Tian sighed and said, It's true. I want to be sect leader. I believe that if I become the sect leader, I can lead the Supreme Sect to greater heights. Look at the mess Chu Tianqi has made. His men are manufacturing demons of greed, and someone even plans to sacrifice an entire outer sect. I once thought he was the sword venerable Fudao and trusted him, but he is not. Now the demon path is aggressive. Anti-Chu Tianqi sentiments have spread within the sect. Morale is shaken, and the Supreme Sect is in grave danger. Manufacturing demons of greed? Guwen was astonished. He had thought it was the Chu family's enemies creating the demons of greed per Chu Jingfeng's words. It seemed there were deeper secrets. Was it a clan feud, or a self-directed act? Chu Tianqi is indeed disappointing. When he punished Chu Xian's descendants back then, I thought he was sacrificing kin for the greater good. Now it seems it was just self-preservation. However, taking down Chu Tianqi is not easy. Many in the Hall of Elders were promoted by him, and he has good relations with the Daotian sect. Gu Zong shook his head as he spoke. Hearing this, Guwen was confused. What were these two playing at? What was the point of discussing such matters with an outer disciple? They were probably putting on an act to stir his feelings, trying to make him outraged and willing to expose the dark side of the Supreme Sect. The two continued to criticize Chu Tianqi, listing his various wrongdoing deeds. As Guwen listened, he couldn't help but feel a surge of anger. If Chu Tianqi had truly done all this, he was indeed unforgivable. However, Guwen remained rational and unmoved. Gu Zong looked at Guwen and said, The Supreme Sect may face calamity soon. Your third Medicine Valley has too many medicinal herbs. It needs protection. We plan to send 50 core formation realm cultivators to guard the third Medicine Valley. What do you think? Ji Hantian added, the Gu and Ji families will each send 25 people. By the way, Xiaoyu is among them. This way, not only will she help you guard the Medicine Valley, but she will also stay away from the war. Chapter 83 Gathering Spirit Divine Finger. You are mine 50 core formation realm cultivators? Guan naturally did not refuse, after all. He couldn't always guard the third Medicine Valley himself. He immediately bowed to thank the two from the ancient sect. An hour later, the two from the ancient sect departed, and Guan saw them off outside the building. After they left, Elder Tian walked over, curiously asked, Valley Master, what did they come to see you for? In the past, Elder Tian would not have asked. Now, not only was his cultivation level rising, but he also dared to inquire about the Valley Master's important matters. It seemed he was indeed making a comeback. Guan feigned hesitation and then divulged what he had learned. Chu Tianqi's crimes were exposed by the demon path and spread like wildfire through the Supreme Sect. The 5 great sects of the demon path prepared to join forces with the demon clan to besiege the Supreme Sect. Various incidents came out of his mouth, paired with his worried expression. It seemed as if the Supreme Sect was facing imminent disaster. Elder Tian comforted him. Valley Master, no need to worry. The Supreme Sect has stood on this land for thousands of years, enduring countless dynastic changes. Historical records show several instances of being besieged by the demon path, yet they have always survived the danger. Upon hearing his words, Guan indeed felt reassured. True, if the sky were to fall, there would be taller people to hold it up. I am just here to plant medicinal herbs well and provide alchemical materials for the sect. That is the only contribution I can make. Guan shook his head and laughed. Elder Tian nodded with a smile. He appreciated Guan's temperament. Still, since the demon path is coming, danger is inevitable. Valley Master, I have a set of finger techniques, sharp and cunning. If the enemy is careless, it may even allow you to kill opponents above your level. Let me teach you. Elder Tian continued. Guan had never learned any finger techniques before, so naturally he was interested. He asked curiously, Elder Tian, why do I feel like your background is not simple, knowing and capable of so much? Haha. An old man who has lived long naturally has some knowledge. Elder Tian laughed heartily, no longer had the timid demeanor of the past. Guan felt a sense of authority from him, fit for the head of a sect. Then, Guan followed Elder Tian into the nearby forest. According to Elder Tian, this technique should not be transmitted. He was making an exception to teach it to Guan. After entering the woods, Elder Tian began to explain the prowess of this finger technique. Gathering Spirit Divine Finger. This finger technique could gather spiritual power and spiritual energy onto the fingertip, storing power to be released. The longer the compression time, the greater the destructive power. In theory, it had no limit. After listening, Guan became even more interested in the Gathering Spirit Divine Finger. The ancient sect and Ji Hantian moved quickly. 2 days later, 50 core formation realm cultivators arrived, including Guan's son Guyu. Guyu was the first to come to Guan's pavilion to look for him. Your connections are truly vast. Being able to have the Gu family and Ji family each send 25 core formation realm disciples to protect you. These people are not just Supreme Sect disciples, they're all noble family offspring. Guyu sat down, teasingly remarked. Guan replied, It's probably not to protect me, but to protect this Medicine Valley. Is there another such large Medicine Valley in the Supreme Sect? There is, but not as large and definitely not in the outer or inner sections. Mainly, it's because your identity as Pan and makes the higher-ups take notice. If it's because of Pan An's identity, such ostentation exposes me, doesn't it? True. In truth, Guan believed that the Supreme Sect was not protecting the Medicine Valley, but the 7th grade spirit tree within it, the mystic pure tree. Guyu did not dwell on this. He mysteriously took out a book and said, "Guwen, you must read this book. It's too wonderful, and even has illustrations." Guwen glanced at it, feeling speechless. Supreme Secret Records. Guyu had changed. He no longer pursued the latest updates on the Supreme Immortal Venerable. Guwen felt a surge of frustration. Restraining his displeasure, he took the Supreme Secret Records. After flipping through a few pages, he was captivated. Goodness, Shinjin had actually stolen techniques. The illustrations used comic-like action strokes, allowing one to imagine an entire sequence of movements, sparking endless thoughts. He faked a cough, closed the Supreme Secret Records, and tucked it into his chest, saying, "I'll read it later. With the demon path about to invade, I don't have the mind to read right now." Guyu secretly despised him, but outwardly said, "True, but keep this book safe. The Supreme Sect has been conducting strict inspections lately, making it hard to get this book." Rest assured. After a few more words, they went downstairs. Guyu flew to his designated post, while Guwen began patrolling the medicinal herbs along the way. The 3rd Medicine Valley was vast, and now he could harvest almost every day, but he preferred to collect once a week. After all, even if the herbs matured, leaving them for a week wouldn't affect them much. An hour later, as Guwen walked through the forest path, he sensed Ji Xiaoyu's presence. After some hesitation, he decided to pay a visit. Ji Xiaoyu had saved him, given him talisman treasures, formations, and a batch of medicinal herbs. It wouldn't be right not to greet her. After another half-hour of wandering, Guwen arrived at a mountaintop. Ji Xiaoyu, in a purple robe, was meditating at the edge of the cliff, facing away from the 3rd Medicine Valley, with formations set around her, making Guwen hesitant to cross the boundary. "Greetings, 3rd Mississippi." Guwen cupped his hands in salute. He directly cast a lifespan detection. Ji Xiaoyu, Core Formation Realm 5th Layer 50/1400/8900 Core Formation Realm 5th Layer. Truly quick. With her back to him, Ji Xiaoyu said, "No need to come visit me in the future. You are the Valley Master of this Medicine Valley. Formalities are unnecessary. If 3rd Miss needs anything, you can always find me, or tell the disciples in the valley," Guwen replied. Ji Xiaoyu responded. Guwen suddenly didn't know what to say, so he prepared to take his leave. Ji Xiaoyu suddenly said, "Ji Hantian is my great-grandfather. If he makes unreasonable demands on you, you can come to me. After all, you belong to me." Guwen hurriedly replied, "The vice sect leader hasn't troubled me. I know him too well. Since childhood, he used me to build momentum. Knowing you are Pan En, he certainly won't miss the chance to use you. In the Supreme Sect, you can use my name to refuse any request you find difficult to turn down." Ji Xiaoyu's words brought a smile to Gu An's face. "Another patron. Right, another investiture of the gods. I find your writings the most enjoyable." Ji Xiaoyu suddenly said, "So she was also a reader?" Guwen replied, saying he was already preparing it. "You may leave now." Upon hearing this, Guwen immediately saluted and departed. By evening, Guwen arrived in Tianya Valley for the harvest day, expecting to collect 5,000 or 6,000 years of lifespan. Upon entering the valley, he felt a long-missed presence. Li Xiandao. Why was he here? Was there not a demon rebellion in Chongluo? Songzhou? Valley Master, His Majesty is here. Quickly go meet him inside. Luo Hun called from halfway up the mountain. Guwen nodded and then hurried toward the cluster of pavilions. Li Xiandao was staying in his pavilion, with LV Xian and Yi Luyun accompanying him. Upon seeing Guwen enter, Li Xiandao smiled, motioned for LV Xian to be silent, and then smiled at Guwen. "Guwen, long time no see. How is your cultivation progressing?" After respectfully saluting, Guwen replied, "It's progressing well. Thanks to your Majesty dividing so many herbal materials for me, I have now reached the 3rd layer of the Foundation Establishment realm. The 3rd layer is not enough, you must work harder." As long as you reach the 9th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm, I can help you form a core. Thank you, Your Majesty. I will certainly work hard. As Guin answered, he deliberately avoided looking at Elvicien. Elvicien glared at him, as if wanting to devour him, his expression both angry and resentful. Having taught Guin for so long, Guin had learned nothing. If it were not for Guin only coming once or twice a month, he would have suspected Guin was deliberately messing with him. Li Xiandao gestured for Guin to sit at the table, and Guin did so without hesitation. Elvicien and Yi Luyun remained standing, making Elvicien even more dissatisfied. Li Xiandao looked at Guin, examined him briefly, and softly asked, "Has anything significant happened in the Supreme Sect recently?" Guin frowned, hesitated, and said, "I heard the Demon Path plans to besiege the Supreme Sect, and there are unfavorable rumors about the sect leader within the sect." He recounted what he had heard in detail, but did not mention his third Medicine Valley. After Guin finished, Li Zuando's smile deepened. He laughed. Chu Tianqi is proud and arrogant. Looks down on everyone. Even his kin are seen as pawns. It's not surprising he did these things. My informant in the Demon Path also sent word. At the end of the year, the Demon Path will launch a full-scale attack on the Supreme Sect. Guin began to ponder Li Zuando's attitude toward the Supreme Sect. He asked confusedly, "Doesn't the Demon Path fear Sword Venerable Fudao? They say Sword Venerable Fudao is the world's foremost sword cultivator." Li Xiandao shook his head. Of course they fear him. That's why they have waited until now to act. The true identity of Sword Venerable Fudao has been revealed within the Demon Path. While that person is strong, he is not invincible. That person? Guin was astonished. Someone was impersonating Laozi's fame? Li Xiandao again looked at Guin and earnestly said, "A great battle between righteous and demonic forces is about to erupt. By rights, I should have you withdraw, but with Liya still there, I need you to keep an eye on the Supreme Sect for me. I will arrange for a nascent soul realm cultivator to protect you. How about that?" Guin thanked him repeatedly, then said, "Uncle, there's no need. I am just an outer sect disciple, unknown to the Demon Path. Assigning me a nascent soul realm cultivator would instead attract high-level attention from the Demon Path. Don't worry, this person is adept at concealing their energy. Even if their cultivation level is far above, they won't be detected." Li Xiandao waved his hand dismissively. "Can't refuse?" Guin looked at Li Xiandao, weighing his options. Li Xiandao continued, "You are my man. I naturally can't let anything happen to you. Besides, this person has a very good relationship with Liya. You could introduce them to Liya later." With it said to such an extent, Guin certainly couldn't refuse. Half an hour later, Guin took his leave and began to harvest the mature medicinal herbs. Li Xiandao, from within the pavilion, could see Guin working diligently. He sighed. "This youngster is steady in his work, very much to my liking. You must take good care of him." Elvicien couldn't help but say, "Your Majesty, are you hinting at me? I just want to ask, who is more important to you among Liya and the Crown Prince?" Yi Luyun frowned but did not stop Elvicien. Li Xiandao chuckled. "They are both important. What are you worried about? Liya isn't staying in Chongluo. He poses no threat to the Crown Prince. Unless what? Unless Liya masters the Emperor-level sword technique." Chapter 84, Shrouding the Sky and Blocking the Sun, Heaven-Swallowing Dark Bird. Learning the Emperor-level sword technique secures the position of Crown Prince. Guin picked herbs while eavesdropping. The Emperor-level sword technique, now that was something he knew well. In the future, perhaps he could ask Liya about it. If Liya wanted to compete for the throne, he might offer some pointers. Wait, this old man had some malicious intentions. Guin felt uneasy, suddenly suspecting that Li Xiandao had said it deliberately for him to hear, as the pavilion hadn't been isolated by any restrictive barriers. Another thought struck him. Li Zuando's ambition was to become an immortal emperor. For an emperor, the greatest threat could be the Crown Prince. Even without pursuing immortal cultivation, a mortal emperor in his old age would be wary of the crown prince. Not many crown princes smoothly inherit the throne. Could it be that Li Xiandao wanted to use Li Ye to eliminate the crown prince? It's quite possible. Gu Wen stopped thinking about it, focusing on picking herbs and letting the father and son deal with each other. Because of Li Zuando's presence, Gu Wen didn't leave immediately after finishing collecting the herbs. He only left the next morning. When he was leaving, Li Xiandao hadn't left yet, saying he wanted to stay for a while longer. Gu Wen suspected that Li Xiandao wanted to watch the drama of the righteous and demonic conflict. After returning to Mystic Valley, Gu Wen instructed Wuxia and others, telling them that the demon path was about to invade and that they shouldn't wander around casually, making all the disciples, including Wuxia, very nervous. Gu Wen planned to stay overnight in Mystic Valley from now on. The third Medicine Valley had Elder Tian and 50 core formation realm cultivators, making it very safe. Mystic Valley was different, with only a group of servant disciples. Currently, Mystic Valley contributed less and less to his lifespan income, but the 8 scenic caves beneath Mystic Valley were different. Even if Mystic Valley's lifespan income wasn't much, he was reluctant to abandon it. 10 days later, the nascent Soul Realm cultivator arranged by Li Xiandao arrived at Mystic Valley. Gu Wen stood in front of the wooden fence, watching from a distance as a woman in green with a sword walked over, her conical hat swaying in the cold wind, accentuating her ethereal presence. Yang and I, Nascent Soul Realm, 9 layers 214/780/1360. A nascent Soul Realm cultivator at 200 years old. Quite impressive quality. Gu Wen thought silently, then stepped towards Yang and I. I am Gu Wen, the Valley Master of this Medicine Valley. May I know who you are? As he approached, he raised his hand and asked. Yang and I suddenly appeared in front of him, so he pretended to be startled and took a step back. Let me see your other Valley Master token. Yang and I transmitted her voice, her tone cold yet melodious. Just by the sound, one could tell she was a beauty. Gu Wen immediately produced the token from Tianya Valley. Yang and I snatched it, inspected it, and then returned it to him. I was sent by His Majesty to protect you. I will be your outer disciple from now on. Yang and I transmitted her voice again. Gu Wen nodded and said, You must have been recommended by Elder Han. I have been waiting for you for a long time. After saying this, he turned and led Yang and I towards the pavilion. Yang and I followed him inside, attracting curious glances from other disciples in the valley. Her appearance naturally drew people to take a second look. Once inside, Gu Wen closed the door and said, Everyone here is in the Qi cultivation realm, so you don't need to worry. Yang and I waved her hand, and spiritual power turned into a green restriction, imprinting on the door. Very cautious. After doing this, Yang and I walked to the table, put down her treasure sword, and removed her conical hat, letting her waterfall-like white hair cascade down. She turned to look at Gu Wen, her face remarkably youthful, appearing just over 20. Her features were exquisite and delicate, but her eyes carried a coldness that gave her the aura of an ice queen. This coldness made it easy to overlook her beauty, making people afraid to look directly at her. She scrutinized Gu Wen and asked, I heard you have a good relationship with Li Ye? Indeed, senior brother Li was also a servant disciple in this Medicine Valley. We joined on the same day. Gu Wen responded. Hearing this, Yang and I smiled, her smile stunningly captivating. Gu Wen didn't think much of it, as he knew Ji Xiaoyu was even more beautiful. That stubborn child never got along with his siblings. Yet he managed to build a friendship with a servant disciple like you. Yang and I said admiringly. That statement. From her storage bag, Yang and I took out a blue jade bracelet, saying, This is a top-grade magic artifact that can store spiritual power. Consider it a gift for our first meeting. Store spiritual power? How rare. Gu Wen quickly waved his hand and said, I can't accept this. You are here to protect me. How could I dare to take your gift? Just take it. Li Ya's mother is my sister. Since you're close to Li Ye, you're naturally considered my junior. Yang and I said impatiently, tossing the jade bracelet to him and then turning to the bookshelf. "You go about your business. Don't concern yourself with me." Guwen caught the jade bracelet, wanting to say this was his building and it wasn't convenient. But seeing Yang Nis' stance, obviously wanting to stay, he could only give up. Ever since his encounter with Xinjun, Guwen no longer left anything incriminating in the building, so he hesitated briefly before leaving without disturbing Yang Ni. Yang Nis' presence didn't disrupt the rhythm of life in Mystic Valley, as she rarely left her room and didn't interact with other disciples. When Guwen planned to go to the third Medicine Valley, she insisted on accompanying him, leaving him no choice but to take her along. Upon arriving at the third Medicine Valley, she was shocked, beginning to reassess Guwen. This servant disciple was no simple character. Guwen also wasn't afraid to shed report to Li Xiandao. Perhaps Li Xiandao had long discovered the third Medicine Valley. It was hard to hide this matter. After all, he had a clear conscience. If Li Xiandao grew suspicious of him because of this, he didn't care. In his mind, he feared Li Xiandao far less than the Supreme Sect. Thus, Yang and I followed Guwen as he patrolled the Medicine Valley, watching him pick herbs and sow seeds. A month later, Yang and I developed some goodwill towards Guwen. Guwen was too honest and treated the servant disciples very kindly. Such a person posed no threat to anyone. She also understood why Li Ye could favor Guwen. Days passed one after another. Snowflakes flew, covering every part of Guwen's Medicine Valley. Li Xiandao had said that the demon path would invade the Supreme Sect at the end of the year, making Guwen worry about this every day. Perhaps any day now the demon path would attack. On this day, Mystic Valley, Guwen and Wuxia led the disciples in shoveling snow, with Yang and I standing at a distance by the wooden fence, holding her sword. "Senior brother, what realm is that outer disciple in?" Wuxia whispered to Guwen, very curious. Yang Nis' stance alone looked very strong. "What's it to you? She's my disciple, don't get any ideas," Guwen said in a bad mood. Wuxia chuckled. "Senior brother, you know me so well. When are you going to get me a Foundation Establishment Realm disciple as an assistant? I would be so impressive wherever I go. If I really arranged it, would you dare accept?" Hearing this, Wuxia seemed to remember something, grinning awkwardly and falling silent. Guwen continued to shovel snow. After a while, he seemed to sense something, furrowing his brow, but he didn't stop working. In the distance, Yang and I also sensed something. She leaped to the southern mountaintop, attracting everyone's gaze in the valley. Snow flew incessantly, casting the world in a white blur. From within the valley, Yang Nis' silhouette on the mountaintop appeared faint, as if she might be swallowed by the violent snowstorm at any moment. "What's wrong with her?" Wuxia couldn't help but ask Guwen. Guwen looked up and said, "I don't know either." "Well, ask her when she comes down." "Goo goo." A light bird cry echoed, reverberating through the world, even masking the sound of the wind. The sudden bird cry made everyone frown, looking around, trying to find the source of the sound. Wuxia seemed to remember something, his face changing dramatically. He hurriedly shouted, "Everyone, back to the rooms, quick!" As he spoke, he pulled Guwen towards the pavilion group. Guwen shook off his hand and said, "You all head inside. I need to watch the Medicine Valley." Wuxia turned and said urgently, "That's the heaven-swallowing dark bird of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. A demonic beast that Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators can't deal with. You go inside first. I'm not going to fight it. Don't forget your identity," Guwen said sternly. Hearing this, Wuxia could only grit his teeth and run inside. Soon, only Guwen remained in the valley, while the disciples all leaned out of their windows, watching the sky in extreme tension. Guwen already sensed the presence of the heaven-swallowing dark bird. Very strong, comparable to the void-crossing realm. Whoosh! A fierce wind came from the south, stirring up a snowstorm that swept through the Medicine Valley. Guwen, watching the swaying herbs, felt distressed but couldn't expose his cultivation level in front of Yang and I and the other disciples. He could only go to the section with the highest grade herbs and use his Foundation Establishment Realm spiritual power to protect them. At this moment, Yang and I suddenly appeared beside him, taking out a large flag and planting it in the ground. She raised her palm to infuse spiritual power into the flagpole. The flag fluttered, forming a light screen that enveloped them, blocking the wind and snow. Yang and I breathed a sigh of relief, turning to Guin and scolding, "Are you crazy? What do these herbs have to do with you? Can't you sense the demonic chi?" Guin replied, "I sensed it, but if I can sense it, the great cultivators from the Supreme Sect will definitely—" Boom! A terrifying pressure descended suddenly. Guin looked up, as did Wuxia and the other disciples. Everyone's eyes widened. The vast snowy mist was dispersed, revealing an enormous bird covering the sky. It flew over Mystic Valley, plunging the valley into darkness that wouldn't dissipate for some time. Even someone as calm as Guin was stunned by the heaven-swallowing dark bird's size. In his view, its wingspan exceeded 100 miles, extremely exaggerated. On the bird's back were numerous demonic cultivators, at least 10,000 of them. Its destination was precisely the outer gate city of the Supreme Sect. That's the heaven-swallowing dark bird of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion, a 6th-tier demonic beast with the power to destroy empires. It's my first time seeing it too. Yang and I muttered, gazing up at the sky in awe, her eyes showing fear. Guin didn't say anything, focusing on the heaven-swallowing dark bird, hoping it wouldn't target his Mystic Valley. When the bird flew past Mystic Valley, sunlight poured down, illuminating the Medicine Valley while snowflakes fell, creating a scene of cascading white mist. All the disciples in the valley sighed in relief at this sight. Guin already sensed the aura of great cultivators fighting in the distance. Void crossing realm, and there were more than two. The battle was quite far away, likely occurring at another outer gate city. Chapter 85. The First Trial of the Divine Finger, Su Lian Demon Lord Outer Gate City. The city wall was lined with outer disciples, including Yilan and Jinqin. They frowned and looked into the distance. Not just them, all the disciples were looking in the same direction, as if facing a great enemy. Heavy snow covered the land and mountains. The wind howled, and amidst the swirling snow, the outlines of mountains could be seen faintly. Goo goo. A mysterious bird cry rang out again, as if beings from the underworld were approaching, causing the hearts of the disciples on the wall to pound like war drums. Gradually, a shadow appeared in the snow-covered expanse, making all the disciples' faces change. What is that? Jinqin stammered, her voice low as if asking herself. Yilan's eyes were also wide open. She considered herself knowledgeable, yet she was stunned by the current sight. The enormous shadow resembled a black ocean advancing, vast and boundless, connecting the ends of the sky. The mysterious bird cries grew louder. Anyone facing such a huge shadow would feel fear, as if an abyss was approaching. A tremendous pressure emanated from within the city, startling the disciples into turning their heads. They saw dozens of flying swords soaring into the sky, surrounded by golden spiritual power. With a roar, the flying swords shot forward, gathering golden spiritual power together, resembling a giant golden phoenix flying over the city wall. The golden phoenix spread its wings over 100 feet wide, magnificent in momentum. Yet, when it flew towards the terrifying shadow at the horizon, it seemed small. The golden phoenix tore through the flying snow, unstoppable, crashing into the terrifying shadow. Immediately, golden light burst forth. The howling wind and snow forced the outer disciples on the wall to raise their arms to shield themselves. "Your Excellency, Demon Emperor, what are you waiting for?" A cold voice rang out, drowning out all other sounds in the world. On the heavenly repair platform, the underworld Demon Emperor slowly rose. In the distance, a great cultivator at the 5th level of the Void Crossing realm stood up facing him, their eyes meeting. "I didn't expect you to be the legendary underworld Demon Emperor. You hid well." This Supreme Sect elder spoke coldly, raising his right hand, a jade ruler appearing in his grasp. Several other Supreme Sect cultivators stood up, each exuding an aura far surpassing the divinity transformation realm, causing the other cultivators on the platform to stand up and retreat. The ghost mother of ephemera retreated as well, looking no different from ordinary cultivators. Heh. The underworld demon emperor let out a chilling laugh. His calm face quickly contorted as waves of demonic chi surged from his robe, spreading in all directions. Rumble. The sound of thunder came from the sky, as rolling thunderclouds surged from all directions, pressing down on the flying snow, forming a thick white mist, creating an oppressive atmosphere. The underworld demon emperor raised his eyes, a mocking expression on his face. He suddenly squatted down, slapping the ground, causing the demonic chi covering the heavenly repair platform to churn violently. Evil ghosts crawled out of the demonic fog, letting out roars that shook the heavens and earth. The great battle between righteous and demon paths erupted. In Mystic Valley, Guwen was leading the disciples in inspecting the medicinal herbs. The wind howled, causing snow on the mountains to slide continuously, and the distant rumbling persisted. Yang and I stood next to Guwen, not shoveling snow, her eyes fixed on the sky, frowning. Wuxia approached Guwen nervously. "Senior brother, the commotion is quite loud." Guwen cursed inwardly. Didn't Zhang Qiong say it wouldn't reach this outer gate city? Why did it feel like the demon path was invading from here? Don't worry. The supreme sect won't be easily breached, Guwen consoled. He felt the intense demonic chi in the outer gate city but didn't know where it came from. Wuxia was worried, but his hands didn't stop moving, a result of Guwen's years of teaching. As thunderclouds gradually covered the sky, the snow began to weaken, which was good for Mystic Valley. After clearing the snow from various gardens, Guwen had Wuxia gather the disciples together while he and Yang and I stood far away. Can the supreme sect really hold out? What is that sound? It's terrifying. I don't know what the situation is in the outer gate city. It's a good thing we're in the Medicine Valley. Who knows? Maybe a demon cultivator will target us. Shut up, you jinx. The disciples were tense and fearful, unable to calm down. The pressure from the great cultivator's battle, the demonic chi, the demonic pressure, and various other conditions stimulated their senses. They had never experienced such feelings before. Guwen glanced at the disciples 100 feet away, then looked at Yang and I beside him, asking via voice transmission, "With your strength, how strong an enemy can you deal with? As long as it's not a divinity transformation realm, I can kill as many as come." Yang Nis' response was confident, but Guwen wasn't pleased, because it was certain there would be divinity transformation realm enemies. At this moment, a figure flew in from the distance at high speed, landing quickly in the valley. Who else but Leah? Senior brother Li. Wuxia called out in surprise. Leah was an inner sect disciple, a genuine core formation realm expert. His arrival was enough to excite Wuxia. As for Yang and I, Wuxia viewed her as merely a foundation establishment realm cultivator, surely not as strong as Leah. Leah ignored Wuxia, quickly approaching Guwen, his gaze assessing Yang and I with a slight frown. He then looked at Guwen, urgently saying, "Junior brother Gu, evacuate. It's too dangerous here. Now all the outer gate cities and inner gate cities are in a great battle. There's a traitor in the Supreme Sect, using a teleportation array to send enemies in." Huh? Leah didn't recognize Yang and I? Guwen's face turned serious. "I can't abandon the Medicine Valley, and even if we escape, where can we go?" Honestly, Leah's arrival both moved and troubled him. Guwen wasn't actually panicked about the demon path invasion. He just didn't like having people around, making it inconvenient to take action. "Isn't it easy to hide? We can't stay in the Medicine Valley," Leah said gravely. Guwen shook his head. "If you want to hide, you hide. Senior brother Li, you don't need to save me. I can't abandon my disciples." Mystic Valley had more than 20 servant disciples, making it difficult to move together. It was a good excuse for him. Leah was about to speak when Yang and I suddenly said, "Someone's coming." Leah instinctively looked up, as did Guwen. They saw rolling thunderclouds forming a huge vortex in the sky, with a figure falling from it, aiming directly at Mystic Valley. The figure descended like a falling star, landing on a northern mountain peak, raising snow and mist. Wuxia, you sure made it hard for me to find you. I didn't expect you to be hiding here. Where did you get the courage to infiltrate the Supreme Sect as a spy? A contemptuous, cold laugh echoed through Mystic Valley, startling everyone to look at Wuxia. The disciples around Wuxia exclaimed and retreated. Wuxia looked up at the person on the peak with a grim face, eyes full of hatred. The person on the peak wore a blood-patterned black robe, with disheveled hair and handsome features, but his brows were full of killing intent. His smile was hideous as he looked at Wuxia like a crawling insect. Bai Wu, first layer of nascent soul realm 203/790/980 Gu, and saw the result of the lifespan detection and remained unflustered. He dared to let the other party enter the valley, sensing their cultivation level wasn't a threat. He was just being cautious, verifying it. Leah frowned, looking at Wuxia from afar, a flicker of killing intent in his eyes. Wuxia seemed to know Bai Wu's fierceness, gritting his teeth. "I'll go back with you. Just don't hurt anyone else." "That won't do. My orders are to kill everyone in the Supreme Sect, including insignificant servant disciples." Bai Wu licked his lips, taunting. "And who said I was taking you back? Today you will be buried with them. I can bring your head back." Humph! A cold snort suddenly sounded, making Bai Wu's pupils shrink. He glanced over reflexively to see a woman in green appear next to him out of thin air, drawing her sword to slash. It was Yang and I. He leaped aside but still got slashed on the arm, blood splattering. Yang and I continued her assault, the two battling on the peak. Sword chi surged, and demonic chi spread like mist. They quickly flew into the sky to fight. Leah couldn't help but look at Guin, asking, "Who is she?" "Your mother's sister, Yang and I. Don't you recognize her?" Guin replied quietly. Leah's expression became bewildered, mumbling, "Why is it her?" Guin noted his expression, feeling puzzled. What did that mean? Could it be they didn't get along? Guin didn't ask and said, "I'll check the forest. There's a lot of medicinal herbs planted in there." Saying that, he ran towards the woods. Leah wanted to stop him, but Yang Nis battle captured his attention. "Damn it!" Leah cursed, leaping to support Yang Ni. In truth, Yang Ni didn't need his help. She was already overwhelming Bai Wu. Within 10 breaths, Bai Wu was covered in blood. Despite his wide and aggressive spells, Yang Nis' movement technique was too exquisite, allowing her to dodge easily. Seeing Bai Wu so miserable, Wuxia's eyes widened. He hadn't expected Yang Ni to be so formidable. Where did senior brother find such a powerful great cultivator? On another side, Guin reached the forest's edge, turning his back to Mystic Valley, looking at the distant mountains. He raised his right hand, thumb pressing on middle finger, aiming into the distance. He sensed a void-crossing realm presence hundreds of miles away, lingering suspiciously. Too close to his medicine valley, it must be killed. Just the right time to test Elder Tion's Gathering Spirit Divine Finger. He had mastered Gathering Spirit Divine Finger. Though not proficient, it should be enough to kill a void-crossing realm demon cultivator. Spiritual power compressed at his middle finger. He didn't gather surrounding spiritual energy, fearing it would alert Yang Ni and the others. Hundreds of miles away, on a flat land between the mountains, a group of demon cultivators was assembling an array platform. A formidable demon cultivator stood nearby, watching quietly. He was named Su Lian, one of the demon lords of the Heavenly Extinction Sect, at the 4th level of Void-Crossing Realm, toying with a white flame in his right hand, his expression indifferent. A Heavenly Extinction Sect disciple approached softly. "Master, the array should be completed in half an hour." Su Lian Demon Lord replied indifferently. "Finish it immediately, prepare." Before he could finish, his face suddenly changed, instinctively looking aside. Chapter 86 Elder Tion's Resolve. demons overwhelming the sky when Su Lian Demon Lord spoke. His thoughts had already floated inside the Supreme Sect. This great war concerned the Millennium Chi fortune of the Wanyin sect, even its rise and fall. He could not wait to join the battle. However, before he could finish his sentence, he instinctively sensed the terrifying aura of danger and glanced sideways. Everything happened too quickly. Even he, a great cultivator with a void-crossing realm 4th layer cultivation level, had no time to react. In his eyes, a semi-transparent airflow was killing its way forward at an inconceivable speed, passing through the mountains and causing the heavens and the earth to appear distorted. His disciple standing in front of him was still looking at him, and all disciples who were building the array platform stopped. Everything fell into stillness. Only the aura of death approached rapidly. Boom! A mass of airflow tore through the sky and struck the plain between the mountains. Su Lian Demon Lord and a group of demon cultivators were directly pulverized into flying ash. A strong light burst forth, engulfing the surrounding mountains and devouring everything in its path. Above Mystic Valley, Yang and I, Leah, Bai Wu, and others who were fighting were startled, all pulling back and turning around to see. An impressive brilliance appeared on the horizon, and they felt a horrifying pressure coming, their faces changing dramatically. Leah hurriedly flew toward the forest below. Quickly finding Guan was hiding behind a tree, pretending to shiver. Seeing him safe, Leah sighed in relief and was about to speak when a terrible gale blew from the distance, pushing the trees backward and causing the peaks to tremble violently. Leah hurried to Guan's side, shielding with his spiritual power. "What's happening?" Guan asked through gritted teeth, his tone full of fear. Leah's expression was grave. He said quietly, "Not sure, probably a great cultivator fighting." At this time, a series of prompts popped up before Guan's eyes. "You have successfully seized 47 years of Su Lian Demon Lord, Void-Crossing Realm 4th Layer Lifespan. You have successfully seized 35 years of Zhang Zhongchong, Core Formation Realm 2nd Layer Lifespan. You have successfully seized 42 years of Chanduwen, Core Formation Realm 6th Layer Lifespan. Altogether 26 people. The lowest cultivation was also in the Core Formation Realm, including 2 nascent Soul Realm cultivators. Sin. Guan secretly repented not because he wanted to go on a killing spree but because this group approached his Medicine Valley. The gale pressed on, lasting for a long time. After the storm calmed, Leah stood up straight. He whispered, "It seems we can only hide in Medicine Valley for now. There's danger everywhere. I told you. First, follow me into the valley." Leah pulled Guan and walked into Mystic Valley. Just as they entered the valley, Yang and I descended from the sky, carrying a bloody head and Bai Wu's nascent soul hanging on her sword blade. At this moment, she was full of killing intent, making the disciples in the valley dare not approach. Yang and I threw Bai Wu's head in front of Wuxia, then shook her sword, shattering Bai Wu's nascent soul. She raised her sword toward Wuxia, coldly asking, "Do you have any last words?" Wuxia turned pale, trembling all over. "Stop!" Guan quickly rushed over to stand in front of Wuxia. Yang and I's eyes were cold. She said, "He is from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. But he's been with us for decades and has never harmed us. He probably has no choice. Once this is over, they'll make him leave the Supreme Sect." Guan said through gritted teeth, determined. His words made Yang and I frown. Wuxia was very moved. He dared not look at the other disciples, wishing he could find a hole to hide in at that moment. Yang and I took a step forward, her sword tip almost reaching Guan's throat. Guan glanced at Leah, shouting, "Senior brother Li, say something." Leah frowned and walked over, pushing Yang and his sword away, saying, "Let's give him that." Clearly, those demon cultivators had a grudge against Wuxia. "Humph!" Yang and I sheathed her sword and turned away. Guan turned to Wuxia and said, "Sorry, senior brother. We won't be able to keep you here in the future. Returning to the Thousand Autumn Pavilion will surely bring you torment. Find a place to hide and live under a different name. As long as you have goodness in your heart, no matter where you come from, you can be a good person." His sincere words made Wuxia tear up. He knelt with a thud, kowtowing to him. Li Ya's frown relaxed, sighing slightly. Yang and I glanced at Guan, her eyes showing surprise. Listening to Gu An's words, it was evident that he had long known Wuxian's identity. And Wuxin seemed unwilling to be a cultivator of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. Guan pulled Wuxin up and had him hide inside the house to avoid being recognized by other disciples from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. Leah looked at Yang and I and transmitted a message. "Why are you here? Do you need to ask? Tell him, I don't want to fight for the throne. But he said he owed your mother and had to pass the throne to you. The Crown Prince is virtuous, talented, and has a 3-spirit root qualification. He is the ideal Crown Prince. It's useless to tell me this." The two communicated through voice transmission. Yang and I kept her eyes fixed on Guan, her thoughts unknown. Leah reminded through voice transmission, "Do not harm my junior brother, or I won't recognize anyone." Yang and I ignored him. After Bai Wu's attack, Mystic Valley fell silent. The disciples gathered in the courtyard, murmuring, all discussing Wuxian's identity. The calamity of the Supreme Sect continued. More battles erupted, and the pressure of battle increased. Guan kept an eye on the Qinghong sword at his waist. Fortunately, it did not show any signs of encountering danger like the White Spirit sword would. An ancient hour later, no more demon cultivators came to Mystic Valley. Guan could not remain still any longer. He found Liya and told him he was going to another Medicine Valley, leaving Liya and Yang and I to guard Mystic Valley. Liya knew that the Medicine Valley was in the inner sect, certainly safer than Mystic Valley, so he nodded in agreement. This time, Yang and I did not cling to Guan. In her mind, Liya was naturally more important. Before leaving, Guan left an ancient gold-swallowing insect inside the house. He had established a soul connection with every ancient gold-swallowing insect and could get updates on Mystic Valley through the insect at any time. After stepping onto the transmission array platform, Guan quickly arrived at the 3rd Medicine Valley. As soon as he arrived, he heard deafening roars from all directions. He opened his eyes to see dark clouds rolling in the sky. Although it was winter, the air was filled with summer heat. Seeing him arrive, Xiao Chuan immediately came up, forcibly suppressing his panic, and asked, "Senior brother, what should we do?" Guan noticed Elder Tian was still there, so he did not panic. He immediately cast a lifespan detection while answering, "Don't panic, trust our sect. LV Badian, Nascent Soul Realm 9 layers 754/1560/3200 goodness." That realm rose quickly. It was stable. Guan thought to himself, curious about where Elder Tian's absorbed spiritual energy came from. He told Xiao Chuan to stay nearby and not run around. Then he walked away, intending to patrol the Medicine Valley. Passing by Elder Tian, he sensed a hidden and strong spiritual energy flow within Elder Tian's body, which shocked him. Elder Tian was not absorbing nature's spiritual energy. Was his spiritual power born out of nothing within his body? This feeling, it was as if Elder Tian had a portal to an exotic world inside his body, spiritual power endlessly pouring out from it. Very strange. What cultivation technique was this guy practicing? Valley Master. Battles are happening everywhere. Don't run around. Elder Tian's voice came. He turned his head to see Elder Tian sitting cross-legged under a tree, eyes closed. His posture was completely different from usual. His body straight, exuding an indescribable air of power. "I'll go check on those medicinal herbs, won't run around." Guan left in haste, tossing these words behind. Elder Tian opened his eyes, watching his back, showing a look of gratification. With such disciples, how could I bear to see the Supreme Sect fall? Elder Tian murmured. Guan, who had run 100 feet away, heard it. Guan kept his face expressionless as if he hadn't heard it. He genuinely cared about those medicinal herbs. The 50 Foundation Establishment Realm disciples guarding Medicine Valley were all in battle, including Ji Xiaoyu and Guyu, each fighting multiple enemies with a dire situation. Along the way, Guan quickly checked the medicinal herbs. He picked any that were about to mature to prevent them from being damaged in the battle, a real loss if that happened. While advancing, Gu heard a cry. Looking up, he saw fiery Qilins appearing on the horizon, with a figure hidden in the leading Qilin. It was Ji Xiaoyu. Qilin step. She took a step, her figure like a ghost. The fiery Qilin collided with a demon cultivator in the core formation realm, smashing him to pieces, and the golden core melted, displaying overwhelming power. Gu felt her aura and speed were on par with low-level nascent soul realm cultivators. Ji Xiaoyu seemed to sense his gaze and glanced back during the battle. She practiced Qilin step, casting spells with her sword, unmatched by anyone. Gradually, more demon cultivators swarmed toward her, with various spells attacking her from all directions. Grandly, Ji Xiaoyu's eyes sharpened, and a powerful wave burst from her body, blasting away the surrounding demon cultivators by miles. Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators exploded on the spot. She raised the treasure sword in her right hand and thrust it skyward. Spiritual power surged up the blade and shot into the sky, forming a golden disc 10 miles in diameter, containing profound and mysterious runes. Gu An's keen eyes easily recognized that the wave Ji Xiaoyu had just released was a divine skill, Heaven and Earth Path Gang. Previously, Jiang Qiong had stolen the divine power collection containing Heaven and Earth Path Gang from the Ji family's birthday banquet, which Gu often contemplated. As for the divine skill after Heaven and Earth Path Gang, he hadn't seen it but could sense a power beyond core formation realm. This lattice talent and comprehension were truly terrifying. To master 2 divine skills at the core formation realm. Golden dragon shadows burst forth from the golden phenomenon, like a dragon herd coming from other worlds, rushing toward demon cultivators everywhere, scaring them into panicked evasion. Some cast spells to resist, but their spiritual power was shredded by the golden dragons. Then they were hit and swallowed into the dragons' mouths. As they were mere shadows, Gu could see the demon cultivators swallowed, burned alive by mysterious golden flames until nothing remained. After moving forward 10 miles, Gu found no demon cultivators within 5 miles of Ji Xiaoyu. In one breath, she had killed over 100 core formation realm cultivators and more than 300 foundation establishment realm cultivators. That was just what Gu saw. She had fought for a long time before he arrived. Ji Xiaoyu hovered in midair, holding her sword, breathing slightly, with sweat beading on her snow-white forehead. She suddenly turned around, her brows furrowed. Following her gaze, countless monsters and evil ghosts like a black ocean approached from the horizon, densely packed, impossible to count. In front of the monster army was a black-robed man standing on a bone sword, holding a large black flag. Ji family's Qilin Step, Heaven and Earth Path Gang, and Heavenly Dragon Demon Suppressing Form. At such a young age you have mastered so many powerful techniques. If you grow further, you will dominate the world single-handedly. The black-robed man's icy voice rang out, followed by a terrifying pressure enveloping all the world. Chapter 87. Angry Guin LV Badian descends. Guin, who was picking medicinal herbs, heard the words of the black-robed man and couldn't help but look up. With a clear view, he could see that person's face clearly, so he cast a lifespan detection on him. Let's see what cultivation level you have, boasting like that. Suju, Void Crossing Realm, 9th layer 982/2200/2300 Void Crossing Realm, 9th layer. Impressive. Guin looked from a distance. He had no intention of making a move. Perhaps there was a great cultivator from the Ji family watching over Ji Xiaoyu. Ji Xiaoyu looked at Suju, her eyes indifferent, showing no fear of his almost overwhelming aura. The heavenly dragon demon suppressing form above her head began to descend, then stood upright and hovered behind her. Strands of golden dragons emerged from it, surrounding her, making her look like the master of a dragon horde, majestic and imposing. Seeing that Ji Xiaoyu was preparing to fight, Suju's face showed a sneer. He raised the black banner in his hand and was about to speak when a cold snort resounded through the heavens and earth. Suju, you, As the vice sect hierarch of the Wanyin sect, bullying a junior, don't you feel ashamed? Vice sect hierarch of the Wanyin sect. Gu and remembered Lin Futian saying that Su Rui's father was already the vice sect hierarch of the Wanyin sect. So it's him. As Guan thought about this, he continued moving forward. Su Ju raised an eyebrow and snorted, Ji Chun, I didn't expect you to come as well. It's time to settle our old scores. He leaped up and dived into the thunderclouds. Immediately, deafening roars came from the clouds, and the boundless thunderclouds began to churn violently, with occasional rays of light piercing through them and spilling down to the mortal world. A torrent of demons roared, rushing towards the third Medicine Valley like wild beasts off the leash. The aura of these demons and evil spirits was not weak. They ran swiftly in the air, exuding a palpable sense of oppression. Ji Xiaoyu raised her sword, and the golden dragons from the heavenly dragon demon-suppressing form immediately charged into the demon army, unstoppable. But the number of demons and evil spirits was simply too great. The golden dragons couldn't kill them all. After rampaging for over 10 miles, they dissipated as their spiritual power faded. Guan entered the forest to clear the snow accumulated in the garden area. Many medicinal herbs were crushed by the snow, causing him great distress. At the same time, his killing intent began to grow. Fight all you want, tear it all you want, just don't damage my medicinal herbs. Guan's heart was trembling. While he was worried about the medicinal herbs, Ji Xiaoyu had already fallen into the demon's encirclement. She no longer used sorcery, but fought with her twin swords, cutting down one demon or evil spirit with each strike, her momentum like a rainbow. Soon, other disciples at the core formation realm came to support her, but their numbers were still insignificant compared to the demon army. Gu gu! The cry of the heaven-swallowing dark bird suddenly sounded, drowning out all the roars of the demons and evil spirits. Guan felt annoyed. Why hasn't this creature been killed by the great cultivators of the Supreme Sect? Just then, Guan suddenly sensed something. He turned his head and saw, 30 miles away, a resentful cat demon that had been cut in half fell into a garden area, its body thrashing in pain, crushing patches of medicinal herbs. His eyes narrowed, and a streak of sword chi shot out from the ground, killing the resentful cat demon. Looking up, he saw more demons falling like rain into the third Medicine Valley. Guan's face instantly turned gloomy, and he moved his right foot to the side. At the same time, the battle in the sky remained intense. Guyu wielded a long whip, swinging it like a dragon. He shouted, "Everyone, do you have backers? Call for help quickly. My father is blocking the demons in the cold Poison Valley." The disciples fighting were all from the Gu and Ji families, each with a background. Without his urging, some had already taken out secret treasures, summoning reinforcements. In an instant, various rays of light and dazzling spirit lights burst forth, traversing the battlefield. In the midst of the battle, Ji Xiaoyu suddenly looked down. Her face changed slightly. She saw green lights appearing on the mountains and rivers below her. These lights were rapidly growing, as if a vast green ocean would soon rise from the ground. A magnificent sight. In the distance, under a tree, Elder Tian, who was meditating, suddenly opened his eyes and turned to look towards the battlefield. His brow furrowed. Such an immense spiritual power. Is it from the Gu family or the Ji family? Elder Tian felt puzzled. He could sense that the vast spiritual power was meant to protect the Medicine Valley, so he wasn't worried and continued to practice. The green spiritual power covered half of the third Medicine Valley. Even the servant disciples near the pavilion area saw this from afar. What is that? Is this a spell? It seems to be protecting our Medicine Valley. It should be one of ours. What kind of battle is happening over there? At the edge of the third Medicine Valley, on a mountain peak, Shenzhen stood on a cliff. From her vantage point, she could overlook the vast sea of spiritual power. She immediately took out pen and paper and began to sketch. Suddenly, her pupils shrank sharply. The green spirit sea burst out countless streaks of green sword chi. An unimaginable number of green sword chi rose into the sky, an awe-inspiring sight. Swish! 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 The sound of sword chi slicing through the air echoed through the heavens and the earth. The disciples of the Gu and Ji families were all shocked and dodged. But they soon realized that the sword chi was aimed at the demons. One by one, the demons and evil spirits were exterminated, the sky blooming with blood-colored fireworks, tragically beautiful. Ji Xiaoyu stopped, staring at the green sword chi around her, secretly astonished. What kind of sorcery is this? The spiritual power contained in these sword chi was beyond her reach. She felt that even her great-grandfather was not its match. The green sword chi did more than just rise into the air. It could also hunt down demons. In less than 10 breaths, the world fell silent. Countless streaks of green sword chi hovered in the air. Blood mist filled the sky but could not obscure their presence. The sword chi dissipated, and there were no more traces of demons or evil spirits. All the fighting disciples were stunned, staring blankly around. In the forest, Guwen exhaled softly. This wave of exertion took a toll, not just in casting the spell but also in controlling the sword chi to avoid harming the Supreme Sect disciples. Looking at the prompts that kept popping up, his face darkened. You successfully gained 2 years of life from the resentful cat demon, Tier 3. You successfully gained 1 year of life from the flying winged snake, Tier 2. You successfully gained 1 year of life from the greedy dog, Tier 2. All were 1 year or 2 years of life, and the proportion of 2 years of life was minimal. No sign of those evil spirits' lifespans. What's going on? Guwen frowned deeply. He thought of the black banner in Suju's hand. Could it be that these demons weren't normal living beings? Thinking carefully, it made sense. This was the inner sect. How could the demon path bring so many demons and ghosts in? It could only be a powerful demon cultivator entering and summoning them with some form of sorcery. Even so, Gu An's lifespan still began to grow rapidly, given the sheer number of demons present. At that moment, Guwen suddenly felt an urge to slaughter all around him. This method is a quick way to gain lifespan, but he restrained this impulse. Excessive slaughter could bring disaster. He should stick to his previous path to power with no enemies and grow stronger discreetly, because he still wasn't sure how far the highest realm in this mortal world was from him. Before becoming invincible, it was best to be cautious. From another perspective, if he saw an ant on the ground rapidly growing by devouring other insects, he would certainly kill it. Just as the ant couldn't see him in the sky, he couldn't see those in higher realms like the immortals. As long as the mystic yellow dragon energy skill could still be upgraded, it meant there were people who could see through its concealment sorcery. Stay steady, don't get reckless. Guwen relied only on growing flowers and medicinal herbs. It might not be the fastest way to grow, but it was the safest. As the years passed, he could develop into the strongest without enemies. He stopped thinking about it and continued inspecting the medicinal herbs in the forest, clearing away the accumulated snow. When all the prompts settled, he had gained over 50,000 years of life. He had observed that the demon army had at least 200,000 members. This meant most of those demons weren't living spirits. The means of the demon path were truly sinister. As the demon army was completely annihilated, the crisis in the Third Medicine Valley was temporarily resolved, but the battle between Suju and Ji Chun continued above the clouds, the two evenly matched. Above the clouds, Suju held the black banner, surrounded by vast demonic chi, the dazzling golden light shining on his face. Following his gaze, there floated a heavenly dragon demon-suppressing form, more magnificent than Ji Xiaoyu's form, with golden dragons emerging as if they were true dragons. In front of the heavenly dragon demon-suppressing form stood a man in a large robe, his back to the golden light, making it hard to see his true face. He looked like a true immortal in the mortal world, with a commanding presence. Your demon rebirth formation is just for show, nothing more. Ji Chun spoke coldly, raising his hand. The heavenly dragon demon-suppressing form behind him burst out a golden light, which entered his hand and condensed into a long spear, emitting scorching golden flames. Suju snorted coldly, suddenly turned and transformed into a mass of demonic qi, swiftly flying towards the horizon. Ji Chun immediately pursued, preceded by the golden dragons, looking like a golden dragon horde towing the sun, its light illuminating the heavens and earth, radiating divine might. After Ji Chun and Su Ju left, the third Medicine Valley finally regained its calm, and Guwen continued his work. An ancient hour later, Guwen reached a small river and moved all the nearby snow into it to melt. Suddenly, a figure appeared beside him. He pretended to be startled, stumbling back 2 steps. "It's you? You?" Seeing the visitor's face, Guwen asked in surprise. "LV Batian, Void Crossing Realm? Second layer 754/1950/3200. What's with this ghostly speed?" Elder Tian was still wearing simple clothes, but his body had become robust, his withered hair floating, gradually regaining vitality. Even his skin looked younger. Under Guwen's gaze, he rapidly looked decades younger, appearing to be just over 30, with a head of white hair like silver threads floating. Transformation. Elder Tian slightly raised his chin, hovered above the ground, looking down at Guwen and said, "Do you hate these demon path cultivators?" Guwen's mind raced, pretending to be uneasy and nervous as he replied, "I hate. In that case, let me take you to wipe out the demon path. How about it? Who are you really?" Elder Tian was just a temporary name I used. My real name is LV Batian. Have you heard of it? Chapter 88. If you become my disciple, you will be the next sect leader. Good disguise. Guwen looked at the arrogant LV Batian and thought in a daze. LV Batian's chin lifted even higher, thinking his boldness had shocked the young man. "Are you the previous sect leader who went mad from cultivation deviation?" Guwen asked, feigning shock. "Deviation from cultivation?" LV Batian's face twitched and he snorted. "That was deliberate on my part. But you are only at the Qi cultivation realm now. How can you eradicate the demon path?" "Kid, I merely compressed my spiritual power into my primordial spirit and pretended to go mad. I just wanted to show those people what the Supreme Sect would become without me." LV Batian's tone was full of contempt, obviously directed at the Hall of Elders. Guwen remained silent. The battle between LV Batian and the Hall of Elders, how many innocent disciples would die? "Let's go." LV Batian raised his hand, intending to grab Guwen's shoulder, which made him quickly retreat. "I'm not going, it's too dangerous." Guwen shook his head. He had to guard Medicine Valley. LV Batian chuckled mockingly. "Don't you want to see how the battle between righteous and demon paths ends?" Guwen frantically shook his head, like a rattle drum, waving his hand. "I better stay and watch over Medicine Valley." "Don't worry, your Medicine Valley will be fine. Just now, I released an aura, and a great cultivator is on the way." LV Batian no longer referred to himself as this seat, and his tone had softened. Guwen indeed sensed an aura of the Void Crossing Realm quickly approaching. The foundation of the Supreme Sect was truly profound. How many cultivators of the Void Crossing Realm were hidden? LV Batian acted again. Guwen could see his movements but couldn't dodge, so he could only comply. Grabbing Guwen's shoulder, LV Batian disappeared from the spot with him. During the swift capture, Guwen maximized the mystic yellow dragon energy skill, concealing his golden core and primordial spirit, making himself appear to be a foundation establishment realm cultivator. Turned out he worried too much. LV Batian didn't take the opportunity to examine his body. After 10 breaths, LV Batian stopped, bringing Guwen to a grand hall. The hall was spacious, with stone pillars on both sides entwined with true dragons, phoenixes, qilin, and other divine beast auspicious carvings unfamiliar to Guwen. LV Batian let go, stepping forward, leaving a sentence. "Wait here. My power hasn't fully recovered yet." Guwen, through lifespan detection, could see he hadn't recovered to his peak. These words from LV Batian's mouth sounded like nonsense. "Your power hasn't recovered, and you're still acting tough? Releasing your aura, Aren't you afraid your enemies will seize this opportunity to eliminate you? Wait, this reckless guy forced me to follow. Could he have found out in the sword venerable Fudao? Guwen thought of this and broke into a cold sweat. He watched LV Badian climb the steps, sitting in a golden chair, like a supreme ruler, imposing. He could tell LV Badian was indeed cultivating, with spiritual power rapidly flowing within. The hall fell silent, and Guwen pondered LV Badian's intentions. After a while, Guwen sensed two auras approaching quickly, one of which felt familiar. And how? The other aura had already reached the unification realm. He didn't turn around, just walked to a nearby stone pillar to wait. A few breaths later, two figures flew into the hall. Guwen looked up, directly using lifespan detection. Lei Jun, first layer of unification realm 1465/2700/2750. Lei Jun? Guwen had never heard of him, thinking sect leader Chu Tianqi had arrived. It seemed Chu Tianqi's cultivation level was much higher. Guwen's confidence in his cultivation level of the 9 layers of unification realm wavered. After this tribulation, he had to work harder to accumulate lifespan. Being the strongest in the Supreme Sect wasn't enough. He had to survive the Great Demon Tribulation too. This realization brought pressure to Guwen. LV Badian. You're still alive. Lei Jun spoke loudly as he walked towards LV Badian, his voice booming like a bell. He was burly, wearing an embroidered black robe, with a mysterious and fierce beast head on his back, holding thunder in its mouth, making him look even more formidable. 16-year-old and how had grown taller, wearing a fitted blue robe, his long hair tied high, with 2 strands of black hair fluttering like swords. His handsome face couldn't hide the sharpness in his eyes. Guwen felt very gratified looking at him now. So handsome, like me. And Hao noticed his gaze and looked back, nodding slightly. Lei Jun, do you now hope I'm alive or dead? LV Badian's voice echoed, not opening his eyes, his tone indifferent and more oppressive than when he faced Guwen. Lei Jun stood in the hall, eyeing LV Badian, squinting. Void crossing realm? Looks like you were still affected. LV Badian didn't respond. The atmosphere in the hall grew tense. And Hao came to Guwen's side, transmitting his voice. Brother? Who is this LV Badian? Guwen looked at him in surprise. He didn't know and still came? And Hao followed with a voice transmission. I was captured. My master had Elder Lei protect me as we retreated. But Elder Lei suddenly turned and brought me here. Guwen couldn't help but ask through voice transmission. In front of them, do you think our sound transmission skill is useful? And Hao looked towards Lei Jun. Lei Jun's robe fluttered slightly, an overwhelming aura brewing, poised to erupt at any moment. LV Badian, since you've faked your death, don't come back. The Supreme Sect doesn't need you. As Lei Jun's words fell, the Grand Hall's doors slammed shut. An immense aura enveloped the entire hall, making Hao's breath hitch. Attacking me? The former sect leader, in front of juniors? LV Badian's voice echoed, never opening his eyes. Lei Jun stepped forward, a chance for him to witness the cutthroat reality of the immortal cultivation world. He suddenly lunged at LV Badian, right palm raised, slapping towards LV Badian's skull. Boom! 2 powerful spiritual forces collided, unleashing a terrifying gust, making the entire hall tremble. Guwen pretended to struggle to withstand it, and Hao stepped in front of him, using his own spiritual power to shield him. This kid. Guwen felt gratified seeing Hao's protective stance. Despite being only 16, Hao had already reached the 5th layer of Foundation Establishment Realm. In terms of aura, Guwen felt he wasn't inferior to an 8th layer cultivator of the same realm. Unfortunately, he was facing the aura of a Unification Realm cultivator. And Hao gritted his teeth, but was still forced back by the auras of Lei Jun and LV Badian. Guwen sensed something, looking ahead, seeing Lei Jun trembling despite attacking, his aura weakening rapidly, while another aura surged quickly. LV Badian. You, impossible! Lei Jun suddenly exclaimed, his tone filled with disbelief and despair. LV Badian slowly stood up, both feet leaving the ground, floating, looking down at him. LV Badian's expression was icy. 9 layers of void-crossing realm. LV Badian's cultivation increased by several layers at once. Furthermore, he was breaking through to the unification realm, releasing his true power. And Hao was also captivated by LV Badian's power, eyes full of wonder. You tricked me, defying fate, divine skill. Leijun trembled, his voice filled with shock and anger. LV Badian looked down at him, mocking. Leijun, you remain as reckless as ever. How many died due to your rashness? You've never learned. Today, it's your turn to face the consequences. I wanted to wait for Chu Tianqi, but you came to die instead. They'll take your cultivation. Don't flee too quickly in the afterlife. Chu Tianqi will join you soon. As he finished, LV Badian raised his right hand, pressing it against Leijun's forehead. Leijun struggled desperately, unable to break free. Guwen could see his primordial spirit struggling too. LV Badian used a baffling skill to suppress Leijun's body and primordial spirit while devouring his spiritual power. Guwen was also frightened. What kind of cultivation technique was this? Boom! LV Badian's aura surged to new heights, while Leijun knelt, his body withering visibly, wild black hair turning white. First layer of unification realm. Meanwhile, the pressure on Guwen and Hao lessened, LV Badian retracting his aura to spare them. And Hao sighed in relief, standing quietly before Guwen, watching. Guwen felt helpless, having taught the boy too little. Instead of escaping, he chose to watch, leaving Guwen speechless. LV Badian's aura rose constantly, while Leijun's waned, the hall's shaking subsiding. After a while, LV Badian completely drained Leijun's spiritual power. After releasing him, Leijun toppled back, rolling down the steps. Struggling, face full of pain, he raised a hand towards LV Badian, seemingly to plead for mercy. LV Badian lifted his right hand, flicked his finger, and a bloody energy pierced Leijun's forehead, dissipating his primordial spirit. Gathering spirit, divine finger. Guwen sensed LV Badian's aura had reached the 3rd level of unification realm, still overflowing with spiritual power. LV Badian's cultivation far surpassed the 3rd level of unification realm. This power threatened the entire demon path. Guwen remained vigilant, fearing LV Badian's possible attacks. After all, LV Badian's son LV Xian was also deranged. LV Badian ignored Hao, turning to Guwen, smiling. What do you think? Do I qualify to eradicate the demon path now? Guwen answered nervously. You are the sect leader, of course? He stepped forward, standing before Hao. Guwen, worship me as your master, and you'll be the next sect leader. LV Badian commanded imperiously. Guwen was troubled, smiling bitterly. Sect leader, my talent is mediocre. No matter how you cultivate me, I won't earn the sect's approval. When you pass the position to me, chaos would ensue in the supreme sect. LV Badian sneered. What if I transfer my cultivation to you before my time ends? Guwen was stumped by his words, but he couldn't take the sect leader role. Even mighty LV Badian was forced into fake death to pass on leadership. He didn't want the trouble. Moreover, by the time LV Badian neared his end, his cultivation would likely mean little to Guwen. Chapter 89. Reversing the Universe, Emperor and Immortal Guwen heard LV Badian's words, and couldn't help but reevaluate Guwen. In his eyes, Guwen was too ordinary. He had instinctively shielded Guwen earlier because his own master had also protected the weak him once. An ordinary person like this actually being pursued for the position of sect leader? Facing LV Badian's gaze, Guwen took a deep breath and said, It's still not acceptable, sect leader. Considering our years together in Medicine Valley, please spare me. I genuinely don't want any trouble. I just want to lead a simple life growing herbs. LV Badian's eyebrows knit together upon hearing this. No one had ever dared to refuse him, and it wasn't even the first time. Guwen continued, I heard from the vice sect leader that you only love cultivation usually. If you want to pass the position to me, it's probably because you want me to handle affairs for you. Why not establish one more level above the elders, limited to 3 people, for handling all sect matters? These 3 people should be chosen from the Hall of Elders and only report to you. Also, ensure that the sect leader's position can only be chosen from these 3, so the Hall of Elders won't obstruct it. LV Baishan's tightly furrowed brows began to relax. He looked deeply at Guwen but did not respond. His gaze shifted to Inhao. What is your name? And what is your relationship to Chu Tianqi? LV Badian asked. Inhao immediately cupped his fists and replied, My name is Inhao. I am 16 years old, and joined the Supreme Sect over 3 years ago. Chu Tianqi is my master. This kid was clever, deliberately emphasizing his entry time and age. By doing this, he revealed his talent and indicated that his relationship with Chu Tianqi was not deep. Guwen thought with relief if LV Badian insisted on killing Inhao, he wouldn't hesitate. Honestly, no matter how one looked at it, LV Badian was not a qualified sect leader, but Chu Tianqi was even more reprehensible. And how, you're the one with the heavenly spirit root? The genius taken by the Hall of Elders right after joining the outer sect? Guwen seemed to remember something and exclaimed in surprise. And how nodded, his expression neither arrogant nor humble, calmly looking at LV Badian. LV Badian scrutinized him and said, If I were to make you my disciple, would you be willing? And how immediately replied, Of course, but I cannot go against my master. Although I've only met him a few times, he still bears the name of my master. Under the eaves, one must bow their head. Deep down, Inhao was extremely wary of LV Badian. The cultivation technique LV Badian had displayed earlier was too sinister, no different from those of demon cultivators. However, he had to survive. What was Chu Tianqi? He only had one true master. Guwen couldn't help but roll his eyes and said, Big sister, can you be less obvious when trying to gather information? You may be brave, but I'm scared. I don't want to be branded a traitor. He suspected Xinjun wasn't that simple-minded, but she had no reason to harm him, leading to one possible explanation. She's cunning. She probably just wanted to see others in awkward situations. Xinjun kept pressuring Guwen with questions, pestering him for a long time until he couldn't take it anymore. If you keep following me, I'll write a medical hero travelogue and make you the first woman the protagonist meets, complete with illustrations, more vivid than the ones you draw. Guwen glared at her. Xinjun's face turned red instantly. She glared at Guwen, stomped her foot in embarrassment, then turned and flew away. Guwen was stunned. Why didn't she scold him? This expression didn't look like anger. Guwen shook his head with a smile and continued to check the Medicine Valley. The sun set, the moon rose. That night, the Supreme Sect was restless. When Guwen returned to Mystic Valley, he could sense strong divine sense sweeping past occasionally. Demonic chi and demon energy were decreasing. It looked like the Supreme Sect was on the verge of victory. Under the moonlit night, snowflakes gently drifted down. Guwen and Leah sat on the threshold, chatting softly about the history of the Supreme Sect. Most of the time, Leah was talking, and Guwen was asking questions. Until dawn, Leah's inner sect disciple token received an order, summoning all inner sect disciples back to the city. He had to bid farewell to Guwen. After Leah left, Guwen looked at Yang and I and used the sound transmission skill to ask, The righteous and the demonic battle is almost over. Aren't you going back? Yang and I glanced at him and responded with sound transmission skill. When did I ever say I'd only protect you until this battle was over? What do you mean? I will stay by your side from now on, by Li Zuando's orders. Really? You can go ask him if you want. Guwen was silent for a moment, then used sound transmission to ask, Is the Emperor powerful? He wanted to know how others viewed Li Xiandao. Li Xiandao wanted to be the eternal emperor but was suppressed by the immortal cultivation sect. wasn't the most powerful and influential person in the immortal cultivation sect LV Batian. Li Xiandao had even poached LV Batian's son, LV Xian. Guwen felt that these two would clash one day. With Li Xuando's talent, he could indeed rise suddenly. He was publicly known to be at the core formation realm, perhaps to guard against LV Batian. The confrontation between these two would be the collision of Emperor's Path and Immortal Path. In terms of cultivation, he's mediocre, but in terms of imperial strategies, he's formidable. Yang and I responded via sound transmission, her tone dripping with sarcasm, clearly holding a grudge against Li Xiandao. Guwen was about to ask more when he suddenly sensed something and said, "Can you watch over the Medicine Valley for half a day? I need to go to the outer gate city." There was a remnant of the demon path nearby. Chapter 90. Time flies. Ranked in the Venerable Pavilion generally, Guwen was not interested in demon path cultivators and avoided them as much as possible. But there was one exception. That was Su Ju. Su Ju had previously led a demon army to besiege Ji Xiaoyu, allowing Guwen to gain over 50,000 years of lifespan, which left a profound impression on him. After leaving Mystic Valley, Guwen flew towards the outer gate city. After flying quite a distance, he performed the great yin-yang transformation, turning into a shadowy form, and disappeared into the mountains and forests with the infinite traceless mystic heaven step. In a dense forest 200 miles away from Mystic Valley, Su Ju was meditating under a tree. His hair was disheveled, and his black robe was tattered, looking very miserable. Small flags were entangling his surroundings, forming a faint light shield to protect him. The vice sect hierarch of the Wanyin sect suddenly changed his expression and spat out a mouthful of black blood onto the grass, causing the weeds to wither and emit wisps of black smoke. "Damn Ji family!" Su Ju gritted his teeth, his tone filled with hatred. During the chase by Ji Chun, he had also encountered ambushes from other great cultivators of the Ji family and had nearly lost his life, making him fearful just thinking about it. The demon path gathered the might of 5 sects. The Thousand Autumn Pavilion, the Ancient Sky sect, the Wanyin sect, the Heavenly Extinction sect, and the Cold Poison Valley, yet they were repelled in just one day. The strength of the Supreme sect left Su Ju terrified. Thinking of the Ji family members in his sect, Su Ju suddenly desired to return and slaughter all Ji family cultivators. But just thinking about the might of the Ji family, he sighed. Forget it. Bear with it a little longer. Sooner or later, he would obliterate the entire Ji family. As Su Ju was lost in thought, a gust of wind suddenly came from deep within the forest, causing him to instinctively look over. Bang! The formation around him suddenly shattered, and a purple-black figure appeared in front of him, pressing a finger against his temple with an intimidating aura that rendered him immobile. Demon Shadow Divine Skill. Which high-ranking member of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion are you? Su Ju's expression changed drastically, and he asked cautiously. Did the Thousand Autumn Pavilion have such a powerful presence? He was in the 9th layer of the Void Crossing realm. Even though he was seriously injured, a cultivator at Void Crossing shouldn't be able to suppress him. I have a question. Guwen spoke, his voice hoarse. Su Ju felt a bit relieved internally and replied, Please ask, Senior. Damn the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. I must lead the Wanyin sect to flatten you all. The establishment of the Venerable Pavilion should alleviate some of the difficulties for the Supreme Sect. Afterward, Jiang Qiong took out a storage bag, saying it contained high-rank seeds she had exchanged with 80% of her savings, all above the 5th rank. She told Guwen to come see her again once these medicinal herbs matured. This meant they would not see each other for several years. It seemed Jiang Qiong was facing very dangerous circumstances. The Thousand Autumn Pavilion did not trust her, and the Supreme Sect might investigate her. Truly walking on thin ice, Guwen could only wish her good luck in his heart, then left with the storage bag, in high spirits. The Demon Path 5 sect siege on the Supreme Sect swept through the immortal cultivation world like a whirlwind, shaking the entire Taizong dynasty. The supreme sect's strength also terrified the entire demon path. In the following period, the immortal cultivation world fell into an eerie calm. After Vagabond resumed his role as sect leader, he launched major reforms, established the Venerable Pavilion, weakened the Hall of Elders' power, and thoroughly investigated demon path spies, executing over 1,000 spies. After Chu Tianqi's escape, the Chu family faced Vagabond's relentless vengeance, with all Chu family members in the sect either being killed or imprisoned. Some younger disciples with relatively good conduct were stripped of their cultivation, branded with curse seals, and sent to the outer sect as servant disciples. Mystic Valley received a servant disciple with the surname Chu. It happened to be someone Guwen knew, Chu Jingfeng. When Guwen first joined the Supreme Sect and was attacked by the Demon of Greed in the Medicine Valley, the inner sect disciple Chang Shendan had invited for aid was Chu Jingfeng, who lost an arm because of it. Later, he even helped Guwen clear out the evil cultivators around Mystic Valley associated with the Demon of Greed. Guwen looked at the aged face of Chu Jingfeng sitting opposite him, feeling a mixture of emotions. The last time they talked, Chu Jingfeng had promised that if Guwen ever faced any trouble, he could seek help from the Chu family. Time had passed, and the Chu family had fallen completely. Chu Jingfeng still maintained his one-armed form, wearing shabby clothes with messy hair, a face full of stubble, and looking ragged and desolate. Brother Chu, as long as a person is alive, there is always hope. Work hard, and if you perform well, your punishment might be revoked. Guwen tried to comfort him. Wuxia had quietly left, and now, Guwen, as the head of Mystic Valley, needed to cultivate new talents. He thought Chu Jingfeng was a good candidate. If Chu Jingfeng performed well, Guwen could consider passing on the Taoist expansion skill to him. The Taoist expansion skill, which relied on accumulating spiritual power to break through limits, might save Chu Jingfeng, whose cultivation had been abolished. Chu Jingfeng nodded numbly without speaking. Guwen didn't push him, gave some instructions, and let him go. After Chu Jingfeng left the room and closed the door behind him with a low posture, Guwen could see no respect on him, only despair. Alas, so pitiful. Guwen shook his head and picked up his pen to start writing. Half a year had passed since the great battle between the righteous and the demon path. Winter had gone, spring was over, and it was already summer again. At 51 years old, he had gained many feelings about life he wished to express in his book. Until dusk, Guwen left the loft and reached the transmission array platform, heading to the third Medicine Valley. He sensed that Shenzhen was inside his house. Since Guwen had threatened to write her into his book half a year ago, they had lost contact. Now she appeared. Was she here to settle scores? After all, she was the holy daughter. How could she not care about her face? Thinking about this, Guwen went upstairs to find Shenzhen. Upon entering the house, he saw Shenzhen calmly sitting at the table, wearing a veil and looking at him with nothing particular to do. Something was wrong. This was not like her usual self. Could she be about to lose her temper? Guwen quickly closed the door, then turned to her, just about to inquire when she asked first, "Have you started writing the medical hero travelogue?" Guwen didn't want another Medicine Valley for now, but he did want high-rank herbal seeds to gradually replace the low-rank ones. If he could fill an area of 100 square miles with high-rank seeds, his lifespan income would see a leap. Once he reached a lifespan of 1,000,000 years and unlocked new functions, he would completely enhance himself. Days passed by, until the early autumn Vagabond finally came. He wore a black robe with dragon patterns, his black hair coiled under a jade crown, and his face was stern, looking nothing like the old elder Tian. Now he fully exuded the aura of a sect leader. Upon meeting, Guwen immediately used his lifespan detection on him. Vagabond, Unification Realm 9th Layer 755/3150/3200. Well, sure enough, he had reached the 9th layer of the Unification Realm. Moreover, his lifespan was close to the limit, making it very difficult to increase further. Guwen suddenly thought of one thing. Before, Chu Xian performed a sacrificial array in the outer sect. Could it have been for LV Badian? No, the Chu family had been exterminated by LV Badian. It shouldn't have been his doing. While thinking, Guwen welcomed LV Badian. The two went inside to talk. LV Badian took out 4 booklets from his storage bag, placed them on the table and said, I established the Venerable Pavilion as you suggested. These are the 4 members of the Venerable Pavilion. You can take a look. Upon hearing this, Guwen immediately picked up a booklet and found that it not only contained the names and portraits of the Venerable Pavilion members, but also various detailed information, including their life experiences. He quickly flipped through, seemingly casually, but in reality he memorized all the information. The last booklet was about Sword Venerable Fudao, only including his title and records of his actions. In the immortal cultivation world, he was known as Flying Leaf Sword Immortal, and Supreme Sect revered him as Sword Venerable Fudao. Sword Venerable Fudao, Gu Gua, Ji Hengshi, Zhou Yu. How impressive! They happened to be the 3 strongest families of the Taizong dynasty, and they were all at the Unification Realm. Guwen had yet to meet these 3 people. Now he had seen 6 people at the Unification Realm: LV Badian, Ji Hantian, Gu Gua, Ji Hengshi, Zhou Yu, and Lei Zhen, and this wasn't even the full strength of Supreme Sect. Guwen always remembered that the strongest in Supreme Sect was the true inheritor, who had already left the Taizong dynasty. Who knew if Supreme Sect had a Supreme Elder? Guwen was both shocked and asked, Sect Master, is it appropriate to show me this kind of thing? LV Badian smiled. If you ever want to write a book similar to Investiture of the Gods, you can include Supreme Sect. Supreme Sect under Supreme Immortal Venerable is somewhat playful and not deep enough. We will see. I'll finish writing Supreme Immortal Venerable first, Guwen replied. Yilan, Xinzhen, Liya, Jiangqiong, and Guyu were all busy cultivating and rarely visited him. Although the war between the righteous and the demonic factions ended quickly, its impact was significant. One day at noon, Guwen arrived at Mystic Valley through the teleportation array. He was in a good mood, humming a little tune. He had just calculated that his lifespan income hoped to break through 100,000 this year, and his total lifespan had already exceeded 700,000 years. A million-year lifespan was very close. He couldn't wait to become stronger. Upon arriving at Mystic Valley, he sensed Li Ya's presence. Li Ya was drinking tea with Yang and I in the attic. Li Ya didn't deliberately hide his presence, so Guwen directly walked towards the attic. After entering, Li Ya spoke first. Junior Brother Gu, I plan to leave Supreme Sect and head to North Sea Mountain for training. I won't return until I reach the nascent Soul Realm. Guwen couldn't help but curiously ask, what is North Sea Mountain? Li Ya smiled. North Sea Mountain is to the north of Taizong Dynasty. Its area is equivalent to the entire Taizong Dynasty, surrounded by 4 other dynasties. It's a place where demons gather and cultivators go for training and seeking opportunities. It is also very dangerous. After hearing this, Guwen suddenly felt that North Sea Mountain was suitable for his next breakthrough. From the 9th layer of the Unification Realm to a higher realm, the commotion from the breakthrough made Guwen afraid to imagine. It was best to stay away from Supreme Sect. Yang and I asked, You're not thinking of going there to find the North Sea Kuan fish, are you? Li Ya scratched his head and said, You found it out. 2 years ago, there were reports of North Sea Kuan fishes sightings in North Sea Mountain. I want to go and see. Anyway, I have nothing to do and want to get rid of those people arranged by my father. Guwen sat down and asked, What is North Sea Kuan fish? Yang and I glanced at him and said, You should remember the heaven-swallowing dark bird from before. In this world, there exist ancient relic species. They differ from demons, being incredibly huge. The difficulty of shape-shifting far surpasses that of the demon clan. Due to their immense size, they are worshipped by the human race as mountain gods and sea gods, with mysterious whereabouts. Guwen became more interested and started asking about the remaining ancient relic species. Yang and I casually described a few, making him yearn for them. All right, I should go. Recently, A prodigy named and Hao appeared in the sect. At 22, he's already preparing for core formation. It's unbelievable. I must work harder in my cultivation and not become his stepping stone, Leah said as he got up. Hearing this, Gu and also felt that An Hao's cultivation speed was remarkable. This indicated that LV Badian valued An Hao and invested a lot of resources in his cultivation. By the time Guan returned from the North Sea Mountains, he would surely have surpassed the unification realm. Then, even the entire Thousand Autumn Pavilion wouldn't be able to take his green vine tree. Of course, he trusted that Sky Dragon would keep its mouth shut. Next, you must practice diligently, lest you get eaten by a demon as soon as you step outside, Guan teased. Sky Dragon raised its head proudly and said, "How could a dragon get eaten by a demon?" Guan stroked its dragon head, then walked toward the green vine tree. Guan valued this 7th-tier spirit tree highly. Every time he came to the 8 scenic caves, he would inspect it to prevent any issues. Under the tree, Guan looked up at the branches of the green vine tree. As he watched, his brow suddenly furrowed. He noticed a certain branch twitch slightly. Though very subtle, it indeed happened. Sky Dragon was still not far away roasting the sheep, so it wasn't a prank by him. Could this tree be becoming sentient? Thinking this, Guan found it increasingly possible. This was the holy tree of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. Surely it had something mystical about it. Becoming sentient wasn't impossible. Guan continued to stare at it, but the green vine tree showed no further signs of abnormality, as if what he saw earlier was just an illusion. He used his divine sense to probe, finding nothing unusual. But doing this could serve as a warning to the green vine tree not to act out of line. After staying for an hour, Guan finally left. Going forward, there was another thing he needed to be vigilant about. He didn't worry about the green vine tree becoming sentient. In fact, he somewhat anticipated it. Spring passed and returned, and 2 years elapsed. Guan's lifespan had reached 950,000 years, and he felt that he would reach 1,000,000 years before the end of the year, filling him with anticipation and making him energetic all year. One day, Yilan visited Mystic Valley to see Guan. The two stood by the window in the pavilion, watching the busy disciples while chatting. Yilan spoke about recent major events in the immortal cultivation world, which Guan found fascinating. A new sect had emerged called the Ephemera sect. No one knew its location, but its cultivators continually invaded various demon path sects, seizing cultivation techniques, spells, treasures, and more, plunging the demon path into chaos. In contrast, the righteous path sects remained unaffected. Some said the Ephemera sect was supported by the Supreme sect because a great demon cultivator had appeared who used leaves to kill enemies, reminiscent of the sword Venerable Fudao of the Supreme sect. Hearing this, Guan felt displeased, thinking, "Why is someone else taking credit for my reputation? You've mentioned so many events, but none targeted the Supreme sect, which suggests we've established a strong reputation," Guan said with a smile. Li Dai smiled and nodded, then went upstairs. The servant disciples became excited, not expecting this person to be the present crown prince. Although they had already joined the immortal sect, they were still very curious about the current crown prince, wondering why he had come to see the Valley Master. Some of them surrounded Chu Jingfeng, asking how the two knew each other before. Guan and Li Dai chatted for a full hour. When Guan escorted him downstairs, his face was full of smiles. Before parting, Li Dai even held Guan's hand, making Guan feel uncomfortable. "Junior brother Gu, we really hit it off. When I return to the Supreme sect next time, I must come and chat with you again," Li Dai said with a warm smile, appearing to have no hidden motives. Guwen agreed with him, and then watched as he flew out of Mystic Valley. The two had not talked about anything significant. Li Dai seemed to have come just to make friends. They even talked about Leah, and Li Dai's words were full of concern. If not for Yang Nis' prior warning, Guwen would have thought they were really good brothers. Until he left, Li Dai made no demands and did not try to recruit Guwen Gu, and could sense that a divinity transformation cultivator was hiding in the mountains and forests nearby, likely to protect Li Dai. After leaving Mystic Valley about 10 miles, Li Dai's smile disappeared, replaced by a grim expression. An elderly man in a green robe flew to his side and whispered, "Your Highness, there is a nascent soul cultivator in the valley." "Yes, I already felt it. It's Yang and I. Father has actually sent Yang and I to guard him. This person's relationship is certainly not simple. Look into his background, find out what his identity really is within the Supreme Sect," Li Dai said coldly. His eyes filled with murderous intent when he mentioned Yang and I. The elderly man in the green robe asked, "If he has no backers, should we capture him?" "I'll first see the sect leader. The sect leader's attitude is crucial. If the sect leader supports me, then we'll directly eliminate Leah and Guwen, cutting off father's spies and pawns," Li Dai responded. The two did not know that their conversation was overheard by Guwen. In front of Guwen, a divinity transformation cultivator was no different from an ant on the roadside. "Want to kill me? Interesting," Guwen smiled. He did not take it to heart. Even if he stood still without fighting back, Li Dai and the old man in the green robe couldn't kill him. Guwen turned and went upstairs. It didn't take long before Yang and I entered through the window. Yang Nis' face was grim. He probably sensed my presence. It looks like his cultivation technique has reached the transformation realm. Guwen asked in confusion, "Do you have a grudge against him?" "Of course, my sister's death is related to his mother. How could I not have a grudge?" "Does senior brother Li know about this?" "No, because it's just suspicion without evidence." Guwen's cultivation was too low, leading him to subconsciously think he belonged to a certain family but had modest qualifications, thus coming to the Supreme Sect to spend his life in peace. He has no family background. His only background is me. Is that enough? LV Badian said this while looking at Li Dai, startling him into a cold sweat. LV Xian couldn't help but mutter, "It's a state of ease without a trace of breath from behind. He really has mastered it." Returning to the Mystic Valley, Guwen first went to the Third Medicine Valley to harvest the remaining medicinal herbs, then went back to the Mystic Valley. He found Yang and I and informed her he would be leaving for 2 days to report to the inner sect. Yang and I had no doubts. He departed at dusk, heading in the direction of the outer gate city, taking a large detour before returning near the Mystic Valley. Late at night, he sneaked into the 8 scenic caves and brought out Sky Dragon. Sky Dragon was very excited, looking around curiously. Guwen took it and left the Supreme Sect directly. He trod the infinite traceless mystic heaven step, bypassing the Supreme Sect, and hurried towards the North Sea Mountain. Sky Dragon was amazed by Guwen's step technique but wasn't overly startled, as it regarded its master as the closest person and had no experience with others to form a broader worldview. The North Sea Mountain was over 300,000 miles away from the Supreme Sect. Along the way, Guwen continued to use the infinite traceless mystic heaven step, rushing at full speed without stopping. Upon nearing the North Sea Mountain, Guwen released Sky Dragon. "Master, see you later," Sky Dragon exclaimed and left excitedly. Guwen smiled, then donned a mask and changed into black clothes, continuing his journey. He aimed to have a breakthrough deep in the North Sea Mountain. The North Sea Mountain was surrounded by mountains and bordered the sea. The North Sea was actually a vast lake, as large as an ocean. Guwen walked through the air, seeing the endless North Sea glistening under the moonlight, with fog drifting over it, extending beyond the horizon. Along the way, he saw a giant fish, over 100 yards long, leap from the lake and stretch its body midair. A truly magnificent sight. The North Sea Mountain was not only inhabited by demons but also by cultivators and ghosts. Gu sensed a battle between cultivators, both of the nascent soul realm. He only glanced briefly before swiftly moving on without stopping. Break through first, and then enjoy the scenery. He wondered where Leia might be. With this thought, Gu spread his divine sense to find a suitable location for his breakthrough. After about an hour, Gu arrived in a deep mountain area. He sat down under a large tree. Within a 3,000-mile radius, there was no sign of human activity, not even many demon creatures, only wandering ghosts. Hence, this forest was particularly eerie, with ghostly air thickening the atmosphere. Gu directly activated the lifespan barrier, first making himself invisible.